I'm Mark McIntyre. I'm going to open this meeting. I'm Mark McIntyre, Chairman of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation for the Village of Southampton. With me tonight are board members, Jeff Broadleib and Susan Stevenson. Our board member, Jane will be joining us by Zoom. And coming up, I'm going to introduce two new people tonight. First of all, we're very lucky in that we have two people who have agreed to serve the village as a board member and as an alternate. We have the ability to appoint alternate board members to ensure that we always have full quorum for the board and full membership. So I'd like to start with Kathy Buxton. Kathy Buxton is joining us for the first time tonight as our permanent alternate board member, and we're very happy to have her. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Also joining us is Nina Edwards-Anchor. Nina, this is her first board meeting, and she will also be a full board member here on the ARB. Both were appointed by the mayor and trustees last week. Because we have a full quorum, I'm going to move that we open the February 12th meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. We have a lot on the agenda tonight. We have a lot of adjournments on the agenda tonight. I'm going to start with the minutes we have from the meeting of, I'm turning a page. The minutes were from January 22nd.
Oh.
Did you guys receive them and have time to read them?
We have the minutes from the 8th as well.
Only the 8th.
Right. Oh, okay.
But let's start with the 22nd. Did you guys receive them and have
Yes.
a chance to read them?
Yeah.
Okay, and do we have Jane on Zoom?
Yes.
Hi, Jane. Jane, did you get the minutes and have a chance to read them?
Yes.
Anyone have questions or comments? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We also did receive the minutes from the meeting from January the 8th. Did you all receive the minutes and have a chance to read them?
I did, but I
No.
wasn't at that meeting, so I'm not voting.
Okay. Jane, did you have a chance to receive them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Okay, so motion to accept the meetings of January 8th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have a lot of adjournment requests tonight, so many in fact that I'm going to do them in two batches. I'm going to do everyone who's asked to adjourn to February 26th first, and then people who have asked to do to March 25th second. So motion to accept the adjournment requests for Silverberry LLC at 150 Breeze Lane, Southampton Shopping Center LLC at 111 Main Street, Eiffel Residence LLC at 2020 Meadow Lane, 300 North Main Street, 111 Main Street, Wells Fargo, also known as 25 Nugent, and 242 South Main Street. Request to adjourn till February 22nd. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve adjournment request until March 25th. So to March 25th, I have P.H. Grinham Trust at 40 John Street, 840 Meadow Lane LLC at 840 Meadow Lane, and Tina and Kareem Sami at 80 Wendange Lane to adjourn to March 25th. A motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jane? Great, thank you. Okay, next up on our agenda for tonight, we're going to start with signs. We have two returning, one adjournment, and one new matter. So I'm going to ask Jeff to step in because he's on the signage committee
Okay,
and run this section of the agenda.
okay. So the first application is a carryover from Alex Vinesh at 20,
Chensky or something.
I'm sorry,
Chensky?
Vinesh,
Oh, sorry.
at 25 Hampton Road. Is the applicant present?
No, I don't think they know.
No. So anyway, well, let me present this. Yes?
Oh.
Sage, did you say the applicant is in the, I'm sorry?
Yes, his hand is up. He's
Okay.
coming in. Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and discuss it?
Right, okay. So the applicant has submitted new pictures. The issue from the last go-around was the inclusion of NY as a suffix to the name Alex Panache, which some of us felt looked like a sign, like a destination sign. Anyway, the applicant has since removed that. So I think at issue now, if you're happy with the design, and obviously it's open for comment, is to address whether there's lighting and what the materials are and what the nature of the finish is.
So it says on black wood on my.
It says 10
In
inches.
black wood.
10
I
inches
see.
tall in black wood. And so generally we've, the tone in the village in terms of the finish is a matte finish rather than a gloss
And
finish.
is 10 inches seem tall to you?
No.
Not on this roof. Pretty big.
I don't.
Okay.
I think if it was, assuming this is to scale, which if you look
Could
at the
be.
shingles are what?
They're white. It's next to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the singles will have probably a 4, 6, or 8 exposure. These looks like 6s. I don't personally think 10 is out of scale.
Okay. Go.
And do we know if they're pin mounted? And do we know if they're backlit?
Not in this application, so we could make that request. It doesn't appear that there are any lights, so one I would assume not, but we could make that part of the condition. So no lights,
Pin mounted matte finish.
pin mounted, matte finish,
Black.
Yeah.
Black.
The application calls them for black.
black.
I know, but
Okay.
as long as you're
So, if the board is in agreement on that, we should, since it is before the full board, vote on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I would move that we accept.
Well, anybody
I'm
have any
sorry.
other questions?
Any comments?
No.
Comments? Jane, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then I would
Any
move
questions from
that.
the public?
Any questions from the public?
No, it's not a public hearing.
It's
Okay.
not-
Oh, it
okay.
isn't?
Okay.
So then I move that we accept the application and approve as submitted with, as we said, no lights, pin-mounted matte, black 10 inches. The applicant of Alex Vinache at 25 Hampton Road. A second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
great.
Okay.
Okay, so that one is done. The next is on Lolly Nail Salon. And is the applicant or a representative present here or in the ether? I have no, oh, did you get an additional submission? Okay.
Do you have this?
No, for whatever reason, I did not. Okay. So.
So it's across the street from Alex Vinache.
Right, no. No, I know the, we do know this from the last time. So so one of the questions had to do, I think, Jane, you had raised the question of the uppercase N and the lowercase S in nail and salon. And
Whoa.
I don't,
Where's the lower? I think it's nail and salon. Oh, I have a different.
This is what I have.
What am I? Oh, okay. Well, this is what he has. It's different. I was in the magazine business. This is a capital S, and you have a regular.
I wasn't in the back magazine business, and I see that.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
which is it? That's what I got, right? Most recently. But I don't know. Do you? Oh.
and then the question is, we have the overall dimensions, 26 by 96, which would probably make the letters less 10 inches or less.
I'm just
I
going to go
would
on record
imagine.
saying I need more detail because
Yeah.
right now the thing says woodiness plywood.
What do you think, as long as we're
Oh,
on it?
okay.
And I don't know what woodiness
Yeah,
plywood
the
means.
okay. We'll
And
we'll
I
get,
don't know if these are wood letters mounted on the
Okay.
building, if this
So-
is a piece of plywood that goes across the front.
All
And
right.
they're not here to tell us.
All right, let me ask you this, since this would come back to the sign committee, unless Jane and I, the way the sign committee works, Nita and Kathy, is that there's a two-person subcommittee, and if we're in agreement, it gets approved. If we're not in agreement, then it goes before the board, but it's not, as Alice says, a public hearing per se. It's really a board meeting and vote. So let me ask the board this: how do you feel on the design? I will get back to the applicant and ask that the building department get additional detail on the actual size of the lettering and the colors and the finish and all those details. But in terms of the overall design,
I don't know what that O is.
the O, it's an O.
Gimmicky, but what is that? That's an O, like donut O?
It's an O with a little red dot in the
I
middle.
don't know. I would say it's fine, except,
What I'd really like to say is I think the applicant should be here to be able to answer some
Yeah.
tell
questions
us
on
what
this
that
one.
is.
Okay, yeah.
Because the other thing that I would object to is there's the pink lettering that's in the window that's uneven on both sides of the glass.
It's a
There's
decal.
yeah, the decals in the window, just
Where
all,
was it?
all the way along here.
But is that theirs or from the previous owner?
That may,
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But they're a
Okay,
nail salon that says manicure, pedicure,
okay.
facial and
All
massage.
right, okay, we need more detail.
you need more
They
Okay,
need to come.
Yeah.
we got it.
I don't
Okay.
think we have.
All right,
necessarily-
so this
We're
will be
adjourning it?
reverted back to the sign committee. Jane and I will address those concerns. Okay, okay. So, what's that? Oh, you want yours back? Jeez.
Yeah, because
There
then I'll
you
just
go.
come back and I won't know.
I know.
Okay, thank
Wait,
you.
Okay.
now do I have this?
Wells
Okay.
Fargo is adjourned, so next you have Shoe Inn
Okay.
at 22 Jobs Lane.
And is somebody from Shoe in here? All right.
Oh, wait.
Sage, anybody? I'm sorry?
I don't know if it's here.
Nope, okay. So let me tell you folks what the issue is here. So if you look at the application that was recently submitted, it has the company's logo, which is a rather bold font, in the center of the window. They had previously, and this is the way I believe it exists, they had been approved by the sign committee to use that logo and that scale and font only if it was on the lower third of the window. They took it upon themselves to disregard the approval, and now they're asking us to do that which they originally wanted, was disapproved, and then put up anyway. So my view is one. In fact, now that I see it on, I'm not even so sure that that scale of font is too big anywhere on the window. So they may have
Do
done
you have
themselves
with
a
you a copy of
disservice.
what was actually approved?
I do on my computer. If you want me to get that up, or otherwise I can
No.
send it around to you folks. Let's see.
No, I just think, here's the thing. We have this occasionally where people walk in and they show us something they want to build or they want to do. And we've had a few of these recently in signage where they come in, and one of the things we look for, because we want to maintain harmony within the village. So we look at lettering size, we look at lettering color, how it's attached to the building, how does it look to the buildings to the left and the right. We're harmonious to the village. And occasionally we have someone that comes in, we go through the process, they gave us materials, we approved it, and then they decided to just put up something different than was approved. And that's what we're dealing with here, because what is up now does not match what was approved by the ARB. So code enforcement went in and talked to them. Now they have to come back in front of us, and what they're asking us to go ahead and approve what they put up versus taking it down and putting up what was approved. That's what we're discussing.
If you want me.
So if you do it this part.
Okay.
It's up.
Okay. Well, if you want me to share this with you, I will. So So Sage, do you see my hand up? Okay. So now, Sage, if I want to share my screen, let's see, share screen, and there we go. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so this is what was approved.
Okay.
Okay, this is what was put up.
Okay.
Now they're asking for something in between.
In between.
Okay, and there's a reason why. And if you walk through the village, you'll see that we discourage bold storefront window signage. If you notice in most of the stores where there's window signage, decals, it's usually on the lower portion, and if it's anywhere above that, it's usually in a rather soft size font in terms of the nature of the font, the size of the font. This obviously is a very bold font, and in fact, the applicant, when they came before us, said that they wanted it in that position because they wanted people to see it when they parked their cars. Okay, so
Do you think that's a bit, I think that's okay.
what's that?
Can I ask a question? This picture is not their store,
They had another store.
but the picture that we're looking at is not their store.
Okay.
No, that,
Is it?
Yes.
no, that's, yeah,
They're
that's
here.
it.
That's the old
They're here.
store. They moved.
The old
next
store
to
was-
Carvel.
Right. But
Now
you're
they're
asking
by
me
Carvel.
to approve
Yeah,
signage
this
on a
is-
window
Oh,
on
that is the
on the
one.
old store. Aren't
That's
they
the
there?
new one.
That's the new one. That's the old one.
So now, I'm confused as to which sign we're approving because this is what was submitted,
Okay.
the one next to
Wait a
Carvel.
minute, Kathy, you're saying they moved from that location. Now
They're
they're
there. What you
they,
have
they
there.
are now next to Carvel.
And it's
Okay.
up just like that.
Okay.
Right. So if we are okay with the font, then I would have the applicant move it to where it was originally approved, which would be approved, that is, which would be in the lower third.
I would agree with that if it's in the lower third.
Really?
What's that?
If you're looking for the store and you're driving, why do you want it on the, I mean, it is a sign. I'd be willing to grant them, if they just said the name of the store, I don't think they have to say, Saint-Tropez, what, all the stuff that they want to say on the other
Well,
side.
That's the rationale may be there, but in terms of our obligation, in terms of the creating a harmonious look to the village, then we go down a slippery slope. Which
Except
if
there's no sign up where most people get one.
Mhm.
So that's, if they had that, then I would say they couldn't have their
windows on.
window
Yeah.
thing up. But I actually don't find, if that's all they have, it to be a problem. To me,
Mhm.
I mean, the only reason for a sign is to give information. Yeah? Right? What is this?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, obviously it's
Okay, so to put it low, if you're driving past and trying to find shoe in, might be a problem if it's that low. Because honestly, I could see why they wanted it to be higher. So if you were parking your car, it's just that they don't have, most of these Carvel, everything else is up high, right?
Right. So when you're driving down, it's
Yeah.
not hidden. It's not
So
hidden
this
by a
is-
car when you're driving down the street.
And there could have been a sign, or may have been a sign, above the window. But in this case, they're not choosing that because that would probably cost too much money. So they're just putting a decal. But we can't. I don't object to that because for that reason. If they had a sign above the window, then this thing would be superfluous as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Jane, do you have an opinion?
I think it should be above.
Oh,
Like
you
not,
mean all the way above?
I mean, not on the window, but actually mounted on the
No, on the upper of the window.
versus in the dead center.
The girls,
Well-
obviously.
So how they
Be
use
able to shop.
Girls,
We
So-
wanna
girls
find
want some
our
shoes.
shoes.
Exactly.
Doesn't it sound like that?
So we have three, at least three different opinions. So we have five board members. We may as well go for five different opinions.
So they got an approval. They put up an unapproved sign, and instead of getting it corrected, they moved.
Well, now I don't know which is. I don't have the new store, unless.
Oh, you don't have it on.
No, they're probably in the process of moving.
So just to clarify, the address on this application is 20 Jobs Lane,
20 jokes.
which I believe is the Carvel
Right.
building.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Right
that-
now, they already have their sign up and it's in the middle of the window.
Yeah, but that was the non-approved sign in the non-existing
So
location.
I would say that moving it up the way it was on their older store makes more sense.
Oh.
so now where are we?
Well,
Can't we just peel the letters off and put them up?
well, it's not. They've moved, so I'm assuming now
Yes,
they're
it's a
not
much
up.
smaller
We're not. They're
store.
not correcting. They're not actually correcting a violation here because they moved.
Oh,
But they put
okay.
their sign, they have a sign up,
Yeah,
dead center.
yeah. They put the sign up, so now we have a non-approved sign up.
Well, have you
In
folks
this
driven
location.
by to see how it looks to you?
Yeah.
Why don't we do
I
that?
have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I happened to walk around Lake Agawam and I
so you're
looked
okay.
in the window. to
You're
tell you the
okay with
truth.
it.
I think higher up would be slightly better.
So
It's
we
like
got
the way the Carvel sign is higher up, so.
okay.
My only comment about the lower sign is when you're in a car driving, the cars that are parked on the street block it.
Okay.
That's my comment.
That's fine. That's why
Okay.
That's why it's before
Okay.
the
But
full
I
board.
don't agree to a lot of other junk on the window, established in 1218, no. I think the cleaner it is, the happier.
So the shoe. So what now you're saying shoe in without the
Oh, well, they could say
without the
establish.
established.
That's all right.
in
That's it,
1972.
Don't they have a whole other, see the sidebar thing they're
That's
touting?
that's the door sign.
Oh, that's the door sign? Do
I'm
we allow
assuming.
that much on a door? That's pretty, my whole thing was that
Shoot you back down, Mike.
Okay, we're spending.
it should not be advertising, is when I was
Okay.
previously on the board, that's how we discussed it, but. this is
No,
a whole
I
new
think
world.
where you have a door that has all their locations on it, we have that.
Okay.
We have that. in
Yeah,
other
we have
places.
that
So
in
they,
the
I
on
think
this
that's fine.
thing, have it very low.
Well,
That's on the window though, is that the
Yeah.
door?
No, that's the window. Oh, that one is a door.
So
To go into
Yeah,
that,
that's a whole
to
non-approved
the
sign
ice
there.
cream,
So
to get to the door? I don't remember how the door works. All right, we'll have to look at it, and could somebody show up
So-
or get on the Zoom so we get some answers here?
that
Not spend all this time on this?
I care more about ice cream than she is.
Okay, well, it's typical.
so in a
Open every.
solemn
okay, here's where I
decision.
feel that you may.
Yes.
We're going to go. Here's
Go
where I
ahead.
feel like you have agreement. I feel
Yes.
like people who shop for shoes are telling you that
Yes.
putting it in the middle of the window is easier to see,
Okay,
but they feel like the circle is too much. I think
Right.
Jane's point is not windowed all. She would prefer it up here, but if it's going to be in the window, she's fine where it is.
right.
And then my question is, that when that awning comes down, I'm assuming that doesn't block it.
Really? That's not what I heard
Is
Jane
it, well,
say.
Jane, is that what you said?
I
No.
am fine with it in the middle if it's just that they put it up in violation. But I am fine with it in the middle or up. I don't think it should be below.
Okay.
So
There you go.
all right. So how about shoe in? Nix the established
I don't care
1972.
about that. What have you done in the past? I haven't been on signs for a while.
It's some have it
It's
in, some have it
small.
out. That's a,
I don't care about that. I think it should be where you can see it, that's all I have to say, really.
okay. So
Yeah.
all right.
I think
So
that's where you are.
all right. So it sounds like it's approved as submitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
There we go.
All right.
All
It's
right.
a
We'll
long
get
time
back
ago.
to them. Okay.
progress.
Okay.
All right. Do we need to vote on that, Alice?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I move that we accept the application of Shoe Inn for a sign at 20 Jobs Lane with the decal of Shoe Inn with since 1972, in the middle of the window as submitted, and the door sign as
In white.
in white, and the door decals as submitted also. Okay? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Jane,
Jane?
you
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
I just
Thank you,
opened and they moved.
gentlemen and ladies.
Interesting. Okay, so that takes us out of signs. That takes us down to public hearings historic. The first one is 36 Main Street LLC. And I actually want to start with two things before you introduce yourself. Number one is I was so excited about having two new board members, I forgot to introduce the other people that are here, so I'd like to correct that now. With us is Alex Wallach, our planning director, our counsel Alice Cooley, Sage is running all things AV in the back, and Jackie Allen is joining us remotely as our recording secretary, so I didn't mention that before, and I apologize. The next thing I'd like to do before this applicant introduces himself is to thank him. This application came a little while ago, actually, and it's for 36 Main Street, which is an important building here in the village. And because it's in the historic district, we requested a historic report, which we got only today, but we did receive it. And in the meetings, I also have to thank Susan Stevenson, because she did a lot of legwork. We went to the Historic Society and other places looking. You'd be surprised how few pictures there actually are of a building on Main Street in Southampton. But a lot of people did a lot of legwork to get a lot of knowledge for this meeting, but that in that process, this applicant has been extremely patient, and we appreciate it. Now, if you could introduce yourself for the record.
John Laffey, architect.
Okay, John. For the public and new board members, and it's because we've been a few meetings, can you take us back through what the application entails?
Absolutely. Can I,
You can stand here, you just have to talk into the mic.
so we're proposing to basically renovate and restore, renovate the existing restaurant that's here. And I propose that this is the existing facade on the bottom, on the top rather, and the bottom is where we're going to do the proposed work. And the idea was that we would change out the windows of the restaurant. The restaurant owner would like to have folding windows on the inside, so it's more open during summer months. We've kept the same frame openings. We just have different type of windows. On the front, we've gotten rid of we'd like to go up on top and get rid of all the asphalt shingles that are there and put up a hardy plank. And we were going to replace all the windows and doors in the building itself. And we replaced these windows here with three type of windows, very similar to these, a little bit different as per Zach's comments. Whereas I have all these, the light cuts on this new design were meant to match each other. So I have 4/1 and 6/1 versus all these are 6/1. So they're a wee bit smaller. The light cuts are not the same. Partly with that, we also have got rid of the lighting. There's lighting in front of the existing structure. And we put a little band line around the front on top of the existing piers that are there. We'll stick at about 6 inch, so we're gonna be able to light the windows with the facade with recessed lights.
Whoa, what lights?
But this let me finish the presentation.
Okay,
Go to
well.
comment.
Is that new though?
No, that's been,
Okay.
sorry. Well, yeah.
We've been waiting for so long. This is all part of what was the
100%,
original
right,
presentation that we've actually never commented on. So
Exactly right. We also have a little, on the side, the upper part of the roof line, there's a small band line. We increased that. We put a little bracket there. And that was the idea that along Bank Street, the building front facade on the top. Sorry, Alex. It currently steps up like this. And we thought we'd just straighten it out. We took the lower part, just carried it over. And then the same here, we also had that same line that we carried in the front, we carried down the street right now, because right now it has, basically, there's sort of a line on the street, but it's basically where it's where the existing lighting is. There's electric and a bunch of just mechanical things of it.
Can we put this on the screen so that I can see it overhead?
it's on the screen here.
It is?
Is it?
Let's see. Was that Jane talking?
That's Jane. Is this
Yeah.
showing on Zoom?
Can you see it,
It
Jane?
should be.
If Jane is able to pin this image off a small screen,
Jane.
Can you try pinning the image, Jane?
it should be the box that says certain media.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I took
Okay.
credit.
So in the alley here, we have, we created a horizontal line here. And we changed the texture from getting rid of the asbestos shingles into a stucco. That would very much match the very stucco that we have over on St. Ambrose on the other side of the building. And that's on the other side of the alley. And we revised the windows. They're the same size windows, they're different typology versus all 6/6 to light cuts that match each other. And the back is the same. The back is also the same. We have got rid of more. The back is sort of a hodgepodge of vinyl siding, and we were going to hardy plank the entire back of the facade, and change the windows corresponding to how we done the rest of the building. How we done the rest of the building. Is that?
Is that it?
Okay.
Can we just go over the lighting? We don't usually, lighting a building, if you drive through the downtown at night, buildings aren't lit up. There are lights, but it's supposed to be sort of a oldie town, village, without being so commercial looking. So I would be opposed to any lighting of any. And also, I feel that with the outdoor dining and these big awnings, that should not be like a party room, that they have small, but in most cases, there are individual lights on the tables to keep it to be a quieter and more intimate looking dining experience, and also, I feel less commercial. So I would be opposed to lighting the facade and big lighting under the awning, which is, prominent there.
Okay.
I also have a question about the stucco. Where else is there stucco?
The other side of St. Ambrose, there's
Yeah, I know,
stucco.
but why do you want to make it look like St. Ambrose? I find that hard because,
I think my client just wants to give it a nice, clean look. And right now, the asbestos shingles that are there are kind of beat up and really
well,
shot.
I'm sure they're beat up, but you're redoing it. But I just feel like I'm not sure I'm in favor of making it look like the building across the alleyway, because the individuality of these buildings is important, I think, for the character of the village. I'm not completely opposed to it. I like to hear my other board members, but I personally don't want to this place has gotten so homogenized in many ways, like in the residential. If we could keep the village quaint and more individualized, that would be my objective.
I will say that, so when I looked at this facade, going down the base of the table, sorry. So the facade right now has these asbestos shingles all the way up and all the way down. The only real break is the brick right in the front.
Yeah.
So by creating a band line and creating a different texture between the hardy plank on top and the stucco on bottom, give it more of a linear aspect versus a two-story feel. But it's hard to give a little bit of scale.
I didn't like the replication part of the place of the building across the street.
Well, if
Well, let's hear from all the board members.
Right. So, sort of the good news, bad news about getting a picture is you realize what it looked like. So that's a benefit. It's also makes it difficult, at least from my perspective, to approve changes that contemporize this building. So the fenestration that exists now and exists in this picture, where it's 6/1, I would recommend keeping that. The wood instead of stucco, I would recommend keeping that. The door as it is, I would recommend keeping that. Another way, since we can only do, for Nita and Kathy's benefit, we can only do one of two things, either approve or disapprove. So by me saying not to recommend it, it's telling John I would not approve it. I think, to use a different word, but building on what Susan was saying in terms of individualism, and I'll add quirkiness, that makes it the building that it was in 1902. It's got, in this picture here, it has a sort of 1930-ish look. I think including the gooseneck lamps, which I think Susan makes a very good point, that putting in a contemporary lighting strip, which would otherwise dramatize the building or even make it clean a line, is counter to retaining the very nature of a early 20th century village, which is what we're trying to preserve in many ways, at the same time allowing businesses to do business in today's society. So that's a long way of saying, John, I would wish that the applicant would keep the building as it is, as much as it is, clean it up, refinish it with the wood shingles or the hardy board, but not the stucco, and basically keep the fenestration and the doors and the lighting all the same, and including the somewhat quirkiness of the front third of the building at one level, then dropping down another 6 inches, then dropping down yet another 6 inches after that. It's all what makes the building, to me, interesting, and the village that it is.
Okay. Any comment?
I would agree with what you said. I think this image here is quite captivating, and shows the original character of the building, and I would just stick to the original character of the building as much as possible.
Jane?
Yeah, I concur with what John and Susan have both said.
Okay. Kathy, do you have a comment?
No, I
Okay.
agree too.
Here's where I come out on it. I thought the historic report was enlightening. This plan has done a good job of maintaining the historic window openings. I think a good job of sort of taking care and looking at respecting the historic openings that we look for in the fenestration of the building. The one request that you had to take the front door up a foot, I think, is not correct for this building, because if we walk down, this building originally was it was in 1902, and in 1906 it became a bank. And you walked in the front door and you went to the right, you went into the bank, you went into the left, and you went into what was a Chinese laundry, I think is what we saw on the historic report. It's very similar to if you go into Tenet today, you walk into the dropped opening and Tenet is to the left, and there's that store that's changed hands. It's named, I don't remember, to the right. But it's that same setup. So in part of its history, I think the door height, and if you look at buildings of this era going up and down the street, I think the door height is consistent with buildings. So I couldn't really support raising the door. As for the front fenestration, when you look at the pictures from, I highly doubt that what we're looking at right now in that building is at all original, because they would not have been original for a bank. I think they were probably changed somewhere. And again, we don't have a lot of pictures. Susan found a lovely picture from probably looked like the 50s, and we found
The Historic Society.
from the Historic Society. We found little. But I personally don't feel this fenestration on the ground level is probably original. So if we were looking to change that up a little, because that kind of almost 50s style window in what the history of this structure is, I have a hard time thinking that was original. So if we were going to change the fenestration of the side windows, I wouldn't personally have an objection to that, because I think they could be updated. As for, if you look at it as barristers, one of the reasons the lights were there was to light the sign. When I see the proposed lighting and frieze that goes across the front with the downlight, what that would really light at night is the awning. And this building puts that awning out and does a nice job doing, service on the sidewalk. So what I would not like to see is a heavily lit blue awning drawing, which is what these would do. And I don't think that kind of lighting would be, it's too contemporary to me for the history in this building. My opinion for the side building, I think you've done a good job. I don't really have an issue because the slider windows there were clearly not original. I don't have enough history to know what the exact openings were. I don't object completely to the change, though. I'd have to really understand of the windows on their first floor, but the door seems to be in location. I would have the same comment about the downlights, the contemporary downlights into the board that goes across the side, lighting the side of the building. My comment about the stucco, and if I were Peter Marino, I would say stucco, is that one of the things we want in our, and I say that because I love Peter, in our buildings, what we don't want them to look is like the building next door. I don't know what the time frame, I wasn't here when they did the building across the street, but I don't think putting stucco on the building in this location of that period is harmonious. If you wanted to drop the whole thing into hardyboard and take that all the way down, or another option, it's more, that almost sort of clapboard feel feels more in harmony with what was probably to me the original intent of this building.
Well, don't you think that looks more like clapboard?
It does, but I think those
Those are
are the asbestos
But
shingles,
it gives the
which are
effect.
probably not original. It does. So that's why I would have a hard time with the stucco on the side of the building. So that's a lot.
No, it's all good. We sort of can bring it back to this type of image, the picture we've shown, first that I've seen.
Okay.
Although it does have the, the windows are basically just regular plate glass windows in front, whereas they currently have
They've got,
the horizontal line on.
yeah.
Just like to keep that because the restaurateur would like to have keep the bottom part of the windows open because the tables are there, so you can scoot the windows open over the tables. So what I'm hearing is basically I'll leave the front door height the way it is. I can play around the windows in the restaurant a little bit, like I just described, and the rest of the building we'll go back to the original motif, 6/1s over the front. Keep it the way it is.
Now that I'm just going to get you a full opinion here, because how do you guys feel about the fenestration on either side? I understand why they want the bottom windows to open, the name that I can't remember. But are you guys comfortable with ever changing the fenestration on the large windows on the left and the right?
It doesn't.
Right now there are 3 windows because they wanted to push them open, interiorly.
Yeah, I get it. That doesn't particularly bother me.
But we get rid of the. I have these little light divides here. We'll get rid of those. They'll just be all plain glass.
I think we'd be happier with plain glass because
that'd be good.
because we wouldn't be fancifying.
Yeah.
I think it'd be closer to what were the original plate glass windows, I think.
And it was once also called the ebb tide, which I love more than anything.
And for the frieze that goes atop with the brackets, any comment? I want to give him as much feedback as he can possibly receive tonight. The idea is to take what was the frieze board across the original. Now, in the proposal, the brackets have been added to the frieze across the top here.
Are you saying these 2 little
Well,
brackets?
do you think it's a good idea, or how do you feel about them? Because I wanted as much feedback as you
Well,
get.
they were only added because in looking at the. I thought it was I was looking at how the roof steps like this.
Yep.
Idea was to make a linear line, was to carry the line straight across. That gave me the width to put the brackets. But if we're gonna stick with the
step down, the brackets go away.
That detail disappears.
Okay.
And that is a quirky. I agree with the step down. It looks.
It's
like
quirky.
Quirky. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. But hang on. Do I have any comments from the public? All right, my friend. Again, thank you. I know it's been a long time getting feedback for you, and I'm glad we have a large plate of it for you tonight. When the next meeting is, Alex, the next meeting is February 26th, and the due date for the materials would be by noon on the 20th.
On the 20th.
Yeah. Is that doable for you?
Yes.
Okay. So would you like us to adjourn to the 20th then?
Yes.
The 26th.
26th. Okay, motion to adjourn the application for 36 Main Street to February 26th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you. We'll see you then. Okay. All right, so that takes us through a whole lot of adjournments. And that brings us up next to a new matter, which is 700 Meadow Lane for exterior alterations to an existing dwelling. Do you have affidavits and are they in order?
Yes and yes.
Okay. Yes.
All that adjourned?
Yes. Yes. We had a whole lot of adjournments. I'm going to ask two things. The microphone is your friend, and they're directional mics, so you really have to speak right into them so people can hear you at home. And there's also a microphone if one of you wants to speak from the podium. And before you introduce yourselves, give me just a second to get my materials in order, so I'm ready for you.
Unfolded copies if you want to look at unfolded copies.
Okay. No, you did a
If
good
anyone
job.
did not have a set, because there's new members.
These are updated as well.
Does everyone have a set? You have a set somewhere in there. All right.
No, they
Okay.
were just.
Do you have this set?
Yes, no, we're good. So if anyone didn't have one, I have extras, so.
All right. Okay, if you guys would start off by introducing yourself for the record, and this is for 700 Meadow Lane, and that's Meerkat LLC.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian DeSessa, 2331 Montauk Highway attorney for the property owner, which is Meerkat LLC. I have with me tonight Tim Rossi from Ken Folk Design and Architecture, Wilmanier Architect, to present this house to you and what we would like to do, subject to your approval. So the property is located at 700 Meadow Lane. It's a historic designated house. The first house was created in the 1920s. Since then, the house has gone under many renovations, changes, and otherwise, as you can see. To Mr. Broadleaf's point, we do have a picture of the house from the 1920s, in 1923, which is the picture of Milestone House. And our proposal tonight overall is to turn the house, as Tim calls it, as being bastardized back to what it looked like in 1923. So we're looking to bring back to decontemporize the house and bring it back to historic character as to what it would look like. Tim will walk us through what we're looking to do. You see tonight the exterior structure. We will be back at another time for landscape architecture with Ed Hollander for plantings that'll go on the house. But we wanted to separate the application so you could see the structure itself as to how it exists today and what we're proposing to turn it back to from 1923. So with that, I'll have Tim walk you through the history and the proposals as to how the house changed and how we're looking to change it back, with Will commenting and me commenting should you have any questions. Any questions so far before I let Tim start?
Nope.
Okay.
Take it away, Tim.
So as
I
Brian
just
mentioned,
asked Tim to become very good friends with the microphone.
is that better?
Okay. Yes. Well, let me ask Sage. Sage, can you hear him?
Can you hear me now?
You got to speak, Tim.
Okay, let us know in the back if you can.
So as Brian mentioned, my name is Tim Rossi with Ken Folk, and we're partnering together with Wilmanier Architects and Farrow Builders to restore this beautiful property for our longtime clients. We did a bunch of research, starting off with the New York Public Library, which rediscovered the original image of the home. The home was constructed for the Ellsworth family by Edward Mellon. You'll notice that it has a English manor style, all divided lights with a hipped roof, a simple, clean stucco facade, and then binding all over for some English charm. We've shown here just some of the articles written about the house and the family, who were great supporters of and patrons of the arts, and have hosted dignitaries and sort of American royalty throughout the history of the house. We looked to the surrounding neighborhoods and for more precedent imagery because, as mentioned, the house has been renovated many, many times over the past 100 years. So we really loved three key references for the new vision of the home. So starting off in Southampton, this home pictured here with the simple stucco facade, the classic windows, the introduction of a base material change, since the house is quite tall. Here we have another example of the divided lights, again bringing in more nature so that the house can be more covered, since it is quite large. Redoing the existing roof, and also adding in the divided lights as shown there. Equally, we loved the playhouse in East Hampton, particularly the smaller divided lights and the Tudor styling, which the house has kind of taken over time. As you see here, this is the existing facade, front and back of the home, much of which we're intending to keep intact, all with all new windows and doors. One of the main changes to the home, which was done within the past 20 years, is adding access to the third floor, which enlarged the central stair tower that you see, as well as building out a porch. So one of the major changes that we're looking to bring back from the original home is the hipped roof, so softening that gesture at the front, since right now it sort of sticks out quite broadly. And then throughout the main level, creating a rhythm and hierarchy, so having a mixture of divided lights and picture windows to take advantage of the beautiful view, and then having the smaller 6/1 double hung windows that are quite common in the area for traditional homes. And then at the bottom, adding a whitewashed brick just to ground the house within the landscape, and also add some interesting texture. On the back side of the house, most is unchanged. On the second level, in lieu of doing sliders, we've gone with French doors to match the existing below. And then in lieu of doing a slider and a sort of grouping of windows, we've enlarged that opening and then removed the windows and used doors as well, just for consistency throughout. On the east and west facade, the same language carries around, keeping it all quite consistent. And then here we have a rendered view from the street, so you see the peak of the house, mostly unchanged. The color we've decided to soften and go away from the powder blue and stark white.
The landscape you don't have, that's going to be with Ed Hollander's office. That was just for purposes of depiction this evening.
Yes. And then as you get closer to the house, you see the use of materials with that whitewashed brick. The staircase faces now the front of the approach versus coming in from the side, a much more welcoming gesture. We have the smaller divided lights in the central tower to give some hierarchy again. And then we are endeavoring to bring back all of the vines that were originally on the home. And then the soft stucco and a slight change in color for the trim. On the back of the house, the same thing that we just reviewed in elevation, keeping the existing porch and all of the detailing.
Oh, we can't see it on the screen.
Rooting it more within the landscape and the dunes, so some of those colors as well are brought in for the exterior facade. And then as you see from the sky, how it relates to the other surrounding residences, and mostly unchanged, especially from the vantage point shown there. And then this was a rendered elevation prior to the 3D renderings, just showing some of the precedent, again, the soft colors and the balustrade, adding in trellis, which we'll talk about further with Hollander, the divided lights and the glazed brick. And then one addition, the existing door actually was salvaged. It moved slightly with one of the previous renovations, and we're looking to re-celebrate that with a cast stone surround, in keeping with the existing, or the previous home construction.
is there a picture of the back, the beach side of the house? from the
No, there
original?
wasn't.
Not from the
Of
original. We
course I
couldn't.
would ask that. I knew you were waiting for me.
We wanted. We sent him to the New York Public Library to look for
Uh-huh.
photos. We couldn't find photos of the
love-
house, so
I love the research.
It was
There is
wonderful.
we couldn't
So-
find any.
Okay.
We found the news article saying the house was sustained minor damage from the 38 hurricane, so most of
Lucky
it
them.
remained. So
Yeah, quite lucky.
I think they just kept pouring concrete on top from the inside of the house because the floors go all over. So they must have figured it out a different way. But
It's amazing.
we do have samples of where we're proposing to get the historic windows recreated from. We have a sample of that window this evening, so you can see what the
But
fitting of the glass
on
would
the
look like.
beach side,
Mhm.
you've reverted to changing I don't know what was there.
So there's
obviously.
currently there's sliding doors there in the existing house.
Right, which
and we're-
means
which-
nothing. Right.
Right.
Okay.
So we want to bring them back to French doors because that looks more appropriate to
Right.
the
So,
time.
but I mean, that is okay.
All the windows in the 90s, the house underwent a large renovation
Yeah.
through the
Spectacular.
building
Yeah.
department, and anything of original historic character appeared to have been
Get ditched.
ditched. So we're looking to recreate and amend this back
It
to
actually
what looked like.
appears that they really wanted to get rid of anything historical.
In that renovation. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
really, they did a job.
Our clients like the historic house, and that's why we
Oh,
want to go
that's
back
nice.
to the historic house.
Okay, so the porch on the back, so what, did you mention how do you know there was a porch on the back?
There's a porch in the back now.
I know. What about the?
Oh. So in the
Say-
aerials, you can see something from the aerials. If you look at some of the aerials as to
They're a little blurry for me, but tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
It's difficult to see from you see from 1962, that was the first time they did the drone shots. And then in 76, we actually have a photo of the
But, so the farther back that you go to the porch, I mean, obviously they weren't flying drones around in 1926, I get that.
Right.
I'm just trying to establish, was there a porch? Do you have any idea? Is there any way to know that? That's all.
Well, one of the things we are going to ask for is a historic report from Zach to
I
see
know,
what
but
else
these
he can
people
learn.
actually tried to, I think, do one too.
we did.
Yeah.
We did the best we could so that there was no
Yes.
stone left unturned on that.
No, I appreciate that.
Is that the original? That one in the upper left?
No, this was
That's
in
the current house.
in
Oh,
83.
Okay, it's just,
Can you show the original picture of the front?
Yeah.
Put that up on the large.
The first is
This is the original found picture of the house.
and you have been to the Historic Society, they don't have anything?
No, we went to the public library and dug through
Did you go to
12
this
different
historic-
No, I
historic
did not.
society? You can actually call them up. You don't have to go. They
Just
have a
double check.
reference.
Yeah,
person.
we're happy to
Okay.
check.
Sure.
Yeah, they have a,
Anything
they have
that
a,
helps
they have
us.
an
Mary
impressive,
Cummings, I think.
Mary Cummings, they have an impressive archive there.
And she's helpful.
Wonderful.
So, and the other questions, what door, what entrance were you discussing? The front entrance that you changed?
We're looking, if you pull up the current elevation, the front door is elevated. It's
Yeah,
off the
it
ground.
has
So
a-
the stairs right now, when you look at the front of the house, you walk to the right and then up a set of stairs toward your left. We're
Yeah, so you-
proposing to,
You enter from here and walk up, and this is
Oh.
the
we're
main
proposing to make it
door.
a center
But
stair.
then your 19 milestone, do we see any walking upstairs in the front? Is this the front?
No.
Well,
Right now,
Yeah.
an addition.
Right.
Correct. In the 90s, there was an addition added to bring the staircase up farther.
Right. So yeah, and I think
I
we're,
don't
we're,
like to walk up this, I don't know, I like the original thing so much, I can't tell you. And I don't like to walk up the stairs, but I don't know what the situation is.
well, it's a
Topographically,
It's
well, okay,
a long way
so,
up.
it's a long way
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I know there's other ones like that,
It's a long way up, unfortunately.
some Betts houses.
well, hopefully we can, well, the one thing that we'll do is we will ask for a historic report from our historic consultant. And then some questions, because this looks like that the archway that faced front was a protected archway from the weather you went in. It's not actually similar to Ladoon where you went in the front and then you, from the interior of the house, went to the main level from the interior of the house. And now you're looking to go to the main level up a rather grand staircase off the front, which is something we probably want to take into consideration.
well,
Well, that
Um,
staircase is there now. It's just
That's
to the
it.
Well,
left.
that-
But it's
so-
not as it was here.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
That's what I asked, that was what
Yeah.
I was asking, but I don't know
So I
how
was just
you
trying to
get in the
understand it.
house.
yeah, so it's,
So you would
and,
have gone in here. There's been an addition, but. And let me ask a question. I know it's on the stuccoed current unfortunate situation, but for a beautiful house, the woodwork, the sort of the timbering framework that's defining the front of the house. Do you have any historic reference to that? Does that go back to the original pictures, or was that just part of the renovation?
That's-
That was
Newer material.
Yeah,
It's-
and you're desiring to keep that idea because
just to add some architectural structure to the home. Is it quite a
because I
one
mean
thing
if
that deviates from how it does is
Yeah.
currently the
I get that it
home
breaks.
was-
I guess it get that it breaks up the bulk of the facade a little bit.
Yeah, and
But
the
just I
house
wondered
was
if there's a
extended
historic reference.
significantly
Okay.
in previous renovations, so you don't know if you can really tell, but there's another basically a third of the house above the original carriage house.
Yep.
So that facade has grown.
It's like, what do you do with such an enormous house? It's really tough.
Well, that's why we were taking from the existing and just doing away with the incorrect color choice and softening it so that there's less of a contrast. So it
Yeah.
becomes less of a distinct
Yeah.
choice, but it was also something that we could soften with the additional vinyl,
Yeah, I think
like the
you-
original.
That's a great move to soften it and cover with greenery. I'm just wondering about how to break up the facade like you did with the central core, but to make it more rhythmical somehow, and somehow the proportion of the front door and those big stairs just seem a little jarring to me, and then the breaking up of the height, the line of the window in the middle, just seems a little bit too dramatic. I don't know if there's any way to kind of be inspired from the original, kind of like almost like an abstract painting, somehow rhythm. And I know it's a smaller building originally. Now it's like much harder to break up because it's bigger. But I'm just wondering if you could maybe play around with the whole entry partie a little bit.
adding to what I think we're all saying is that there's a certain level of discomfort with the scale and mass of that which was added on. It exists now, but unfortunately was added on. So in one sense, I think what you hear some of us saying is it's great that you're returning the house to 1923, except for the fact that you're keeping probably one of the worst moves in terms of taking away from what was a soft roof line and a harmonious flow in the front to when they put on that addition and those massive steps. And to the extent that you have the ability while you're doing all this work to return to the lines that are more akin to the 1923 lines, I think you'll have a softer look. I think it'll be more attractive. I'm sure it's a challenge because it's been constructed, and now you'd have to go back. But you can see from the comments of the board that facade is a bit problematic.
So if I'm hearing it right, just so I can clarify, the entry corridor is where all of our comments are.
Yeah, because
it's not all of them, but it's
No.
But that's a big one.
Right.
Yeah.
A bulk of it.
Yeah.
The bulk of it.
And it's one of the things is in the 1923 version, you had a roof line that went straight across that wasn't broken up. Then in the 80s or the 90s, when they put on this thing, then that begat big windows, which then
Well, actually,
begat
it
had big windows before. I
But
know, but it was soft.
It actually didn't begat them because bigger windows are on the original house.
No,
than
I
are
know,
now.
but there was
Correct.
no roof, there was no extension to
Yeah.
the roof line went across.
Right.
Yes, there were big windows, but they were
And this part's been pulled out, but yeah.
right.
No, yeah, I'm hearing you.
And then you
All
had a
right.
soft entrance over here,
Yeah.
which
So,
was diminutive to the rest of the house.
I think you're universally hearing that this choice of a pronounced entrance is not being received as well as another idea might, because it actually feels too heavy and wrong for the house.
Do you know how they got in 1926 or whatever it is?
Yes. So they had the entrance that was basically
with the,
here with the
yeah,
original door.
with the little,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
there's obviously the stairwell in there,
you don't like that?
and you go in and you go up.
Based on the plan of the home, this tower was added so that you could get into the third floor. So that
Oh.
provides access.
There's a central staircase that goes
Yeah.
Yes.
through all floors.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So originally, it seems like most of the living
Just
were
went
on
to the-
those 2 floors and maybe
Right,
the
'cause
bottom
they
floor.
had the,
And then while we're waiting for Zach's report, I do have a question. If I look at the balustrade around the house,
Mm-hmm.
what is your inspiration for this the detail work on this balustrade? Because it doesn't seem to me to be harmonious with the rest of the house.
We found an example of a Tudor home that had a more decorative balustrade that we liked. Since there is a long expanse on the back facade, we wanted to add a bit of rhythm and interest there versus just the standard straight blank.
Okay.
but
I don't know how the other board members. I feel
It just
I'm not.
makes
I'm
it
not
look
sure.
too
I'm not.
long.
I don't. No. I just feel like the detail choice of it is
the
pretty.
detail of it.
I'm not sure that
I
the
agree
details
with you.
is harmonious with the house, but
Well, how about these things? That hold up the porch or whatever
Nope.
they
they're there.
are. Are they?
Yeah, that's what's there.
They
Those are
they,
pretty
exist.
funky.
They what exists right now that exists, and then there's
I
a
know
sort of
they're
a
there,
there's a
but they
picket
weren't
rail
there,
that goes
were
across
they?
the front. They weren't there, and I don't know.
I think they're weird. I see
sorry,
then
which
why
one
the
are you-
detail on the
On the back.
balustrade was like that.
These things?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this thing. I find, so you
Kathy, do you have any comments?
I feel like the front and the back don't have anything to do with each other either personally, because of this. What does this have to do with the, I don't know.
Okay.
This looks like a different house.
Hang on.
I
Kathy,
don't
do you have?
dislike it, I just don't
Let's
think
go to
it,
Kathy and Jay for a second. Kathy.
Yeah, no, I was just
I
gonna
don't
say,
think
I
it
don't,
speaks to the other part.
I'm not
Maybe
sure
I'm-
centering the staircase,
It
I think,
doesn't.
I think it almost makes it worse, even from the side, I don't know.
The side entrance, because you plant in front of it, softens it and draws
Yeah.
less attention to
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Jane, do you have any comments?
I just love the fact that you're going back to the 1920s, and I think you're getting there, but I would agree that the front staircase is just way too out of proportion. So if we can tone that down somehow and tone those windows down above it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to send this out for the
Yeah.
historic
No problem.
report on the house. Do you have any comments from the public? Okay. I will tell you that one of the things that the original picture is so charming and so odd is when you look at the fenestration of the original, you have these massive pane windows everywhere that are wider than we would probably even be looking at today for approval, but they're original to this house. So in that sort of style of window that you see in the original, getting as close as you can to sort of that quirkiness would probably be applauded.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
it's really charming.
Yeah.
Is
Because
that like the
it's so much
castle kind of?
it's so much a moment in itself, this beautiful house. So we're going to send this house out to Zach. We'll get Zach's report hopefully by the next meeting. So
Did we ask for public comment yet?
I thought I did. I thought I did.
Silence.
We didn't have public comment, right?
We did.
I thought you did.
Oh, do we? I'm sorry.
No one responded. I don't know why you're
No one
surprised by
responded. All right, so I'm going to suggest we
watching the
adjourn
other
this
channel.
until the next. You've heard the comments. By the next meeting, we should have a report back, and you feel free to come in with any updated plans you'd like to consider along with that, and then we'll get the report back from our historic consultant.
That meeting is February 26th.
20.
And anything we want to submit to in revisions would be February 20th?
Yes, by noon on the 20th.
Okay.
Okay. So motion to accept the applicant's request for adjournment for 700 Meadow Lane to February 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good
It was
evening.
a nice presentation.
Well, if they choose to. Okay. So that takes us to public hearings non-historic, and thank you very much. The first up is 53 Halsey Street, for construction of a 2-story single-family dwelling.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here
Oh, okay.
for 53 Halsey Street?
I'm gonna introduce myself.
You're out.
there.
Knock on the door.
There we are. Hello.
Yes, hi.
If you could introduce yourself for the record, please, sir.
Yes, hi. I'm Jim McChesney. I'm the architect for 53 Halsey.
Okay.
And I am, I think at the, am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
You are.
Okay. I think there was a concern at the last meeting for the window to wall ratio in the back of the house. So I changed some of the, or actually I changed on the second floor the height of all the windows so that it matches in design the windows in the front dormer. So they're 2 wide by 3 high. And I did that consistently around the second floor. You can see on the exterior elevations of 201 and 202. And then also below it, sorry, I'm trying to get out here. And then on the back in the living room, on the covered porch in this area, I reduced the height of these French doors to 7 foot. I eliminated one of the French doors to the side, and then I also eliminated doors on the French doors on the north and the south elevations. So there had been a French or an oversized window here on the north elevation, and on the south elevation, this has been a French door right here below the covered porch. And I also changed all the lighting, the sconces, where you can see it in the elevations. There's downlight sconces on the front and on the back elevation here and here. And then I added them to the existing pool house and the garage as well in the back.
Okay.
And so from the last meeting, we submitted the renderings of the front and the back of the house. This is the front and this is the back.
And the date of those plans is?
I'm sorry?
These are dated January 30th.
I got it.
You probably said this and I probably just missed it, but on page A202 under north elevation, you removed the door. Did you remove a door?
I did. Let me go back to that story. I removed the door
That was facing the side, right?
facing the backyard.
Yeah.
This had been a door here, and I removed that. And then on the north side, this had been a floor-to-ceiling window down here, and I removed it all together. And then on the south elevation, right here below this covered porch, that had been a French door, and I removed that as well and made it just a window.
Just a window. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Board members. Susan.
Well,
I appreciate your changes. I think you've done a great job of getting the back to look more like the front and reducing your window ratio. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I just have, okay. Susan?
I think you've done a good job too. Still think these windows in the back with the doors, you made them smaller, but how much? How much smaller?
They have been 7.5 feet high, so now they're 6'10" doors, and again, I eliminated, so it's not 4 French doors in a row. It's
Right, I see that. Thank you.
3.
You want to see the original?
No.
That's
Sorry.
right. Okay. All right. I think we're at a place, from my perspective, where I actually appreciate the change in the light fixtures too. The issues that came in front of the board in the last meeting have been addressed to my satisfaction. I think the reduction of light to the neighbors is well done. The adjustment to the back in response to the board's concerns, moving a door and just putting in a smaller window. I think you've hit what, from my perspective, I'd be looking for you to hit. And I think you've worked with us through several meetings to get us to this point, which I also appreciate.
What happened to?
Jeff is recused on
He's
this project.
So who we got?
So the three of us.
Oh, okay.
And
Jane?
And Jane.
Okay.
All right. So are there questions or comments from the public? Okay, I'm going to move we accept the application as per the drawings of January 30th of the house at 53 Halsey Street. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I want to reiterate, thank you,
Thank you.
because we've been through, I know we've been through several meetings, and you've listened, you've responded, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, that brings us to 64 Pulaski Street.
Good evening.
John, give me 1 second. Let me get Jeff
Oh,
back.
sorry. I didn't see that Jeff left.
Right. Okay.
Good evening. My name is John Bennett. I'm a partner at Bennett and Reed in Windmill Lane in Southampton. And Sal Cicciarelli is here with me this evening. He's the project architect. Barbara Maddock hopefully is on Zoom. She's the property owner. Can I ask if she's been let in, Ms. Maddock? That'd be great. And if you would also bring in Gary Lawrence. Thanks.
I think I've joined it. I think you have video and audio.
Okay, so I see you, Barbara. Thank you. And let's see if Gary's with us.
If you can hear me, I'm here. I just don't have the visual up.
Okay, that's good, Gary. Thank you. So this is, having represented people for many years in front of this board, this I find is a real puzzlement to me, this case. I find the proposed changes are really of no moment in terms of any negative aspect here, and as I'll tell you, the neighborhood, which you are required by law, and I'll give you some authority on that to take strong consideration of, agrees with me. By correspondence dated February 6th, we submitted to the board a letter from Mrs. Maddock, who's with us this evening, and she is going to expand upon and add to a letter that she has submitted to the board. We submitted some additional comparative renderings and photographs taken by Mr. Lawrence along Pulaski Street. Where there are many, many attached garages on Pulaski Street with street-facing front doors. Most of them are 2 doors. Here we have a very modest 1 door, and not, let's call it, and not in the I guess it's a post-World War II, typical overhead door with the windows on the top. This is more in the line of a barn door, and it's only 1 garage door. And there are other garage, but many garage doors facing the street on Pulaski Street, and that's what you're required to look at. Then we had presented a plan on January 22nd, which shifted the driveway to the west side of the property, which would place the driveway entrance offset from the proposed attached garage entry. Now, we did this because, to the extent that certain people were concerned about a garage facing the street, which again I find immense puzzlement given the character of the neighborhood and given the fact that this is a very common and specifically permitted under the code use of the property in the village, we nevertheless decided that we would alter the site plan, despite the fact that I'll explain to you in further that this board has no site plan review authority whatsoever. We decided we would alter the site improvement so that when you came in, you came in on the correct me if I'm wrong, from directional point of view south. You came on the westerly side and drove to the garage, which is on the easterly side, and also proposed some fairly significant screening. All of this redoing and modification of just the driveway itself, we noted and gave you an estimate for it in excess, in the area between $21,000 and $25,000, all to try to, unnecessarily, but nevertheless, from a comity point of view, COMITY view, try to allay some of the concerns of the board, which again, I will tell you, I think, as a matter of law, are inappropriate concerns. So we did, also the board was concerned, despite the fact that, and we'll talk a little bit about 170 Pulaski Street, which this board approved quite recently. Also, despite the fact that 170 Pulaski, which has a front-facing garage, and I think there are two. Are there two? It has one also. Okay, thank you, sir. That has a porch, rather, excuse me. That has a garage that is on the same plane as the facade. The board was concerned about that at 64 Pulaski, and we rejiggered the house so that the garage is recessed from the front part of the front part of the house, allaying those sort of concerns. We also included letters of support obtained from 4 neighboring property owners. We have since received an additional letter from Brian D'Italia, the owner of 153 Pulaski Street. Now, these letters of support are proof that there is no impact on any harmony to the neighborhood or any neighborhood character. You don't have to take my word for it. 2 separate cases I litigated, one up to the appellate division, Dolphin versus Shelter Island, and the other one, Coleman versus Southampton Village. The board criticized the court, the Supreme Court, and then ultimately the appellate division criticized the boards for not taking into account the letters of support from the neighbors. So again, as I said, and they were actually said that there should have been determinative. Mrs. Maddock again is here with me via Zoom. Also here is Gary Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence is a licensed architect. He's also principal of Lawrence Architectural Presentations and prepared renderings for the project. Mr. Lawrence is also an author. You can't live in the East End of Long Island without being familiar with his book, Houses of the Hamptons, which he co-authored with Ann Serchin. We had previously submitted correspondence from Mr. Lawrence dated January 15, 2024. A few of the things the board should be aware of. A couple of times it's been mentioned by board members that there already exists a detached garage on the property. You realize, hopefully, that this is of absolutely no moment whatsoever to your deliberations. The fact that there is an existing attached garage on the property is irrelevant to your charge to review architecture. That is a site plan issue. This is not a zoning board of appeals or a planning board. There's some peripheral language in the code about placement on property. This is not the creation of any site plan powers. This has been found determinatively in a case that I litigated against this board, the Farrar case. That in that case, the Suffolk County Supreme Court was quite critical of this board trying to exercise site plan review authority, which is essentially what you're trying to do by saying that there already is a garage there. That's irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. We were surprised that the board wasn't more appreciative, and I know Board Member Stevenson was concerned that the property as a whole, for a property this size, was rather busy and had a lot of structures on it. We were surprised that the board wasn't more appreciative of the fact that we're actually doing away with the pool house there and consolidating it into the existing garage in the back, in the far back, which is quite a long walk, as we've said on many occasions from the property. So actually, we're actually reducing lot coverage, something which in most every other application I've seen, the board was quite happy that we did. As I said, there are numerous various street faces. So what I'm hearing here, in addition to many of the things that I'm putting in the record, and for what should be an obvious reason to the board, why do I put a lot of stuff in the record? Where do you think we're going? There are numerous street-facing garages, both attached and detached on the street. That's harmony. and approving 170 Pulaski Street with a street-facing garage, the board noted, this is interesting, this is the board noted, and particularly Mr. Broadleaf noted, quote, street-facing garage is not a non-starter on this street. We'd like to know why it wasn't on a non-starter on 170 Pulaski, but it was here. That suggests treatment that runs afoul of the Knight versus Amelkin case and its progeny. The garage at 170 is not recessed, as is the 64 Pulaski Street garage. As per your concerns, we listened to your concerns, every concern that we thought was, whether or not we thought it was within your jurisdiction, if we thought it was something that we could do, even at expense, we did. And again, the 5 letters of support from the neighborhood, you simply can't ignore them, as I stated before, and there's quite a bit of authority to that. They have a right to be heard, and strong consideration as to what they want in the neighborhood should tip any tottering scale in your minds in this particular applications. We've made numerous modifications to allay what the board has stated was their concerns. I would suggest, as a matter of law, given what we have here, it's absolutely impossible to demonstrate any sort of disharmony on the street or any sort of strange outlier that would be created by this change to this rather modest house. So at that, I'd like, before Gary speaks, I would like, I think it's important for you to hear from the applicant. She's a taxpayer, she's a citizen, and she's comes to this board and would like you to hear her concerns and a little bit of her journey through this, what we believe has been an unnecessarily protracted process. Barbara?
Yes, and John, thank you. That's an excellent summary. There are just a few things that I would like to mention. The board may be wondering, well, why do I have a house with a detached garage if I don't want one? Well, the background to that is I bought this house in 2021 to downsize after my husband passed away in 2020. We had a larger house in the village with an attached 2-car garage. We had owned a number of homes previously, all with attached garages. And in fact, the very first house we ever bought had an attached garage. So I had never had a detached garage. The time I bought this house was sort of in the depths of COVID, and inventory of homes was limited. I tried to look at as many properties as I could, and only 2 of them had detached garages. However, in evaluating them all, the one on Pulaski Street best met my needs with respect to the interior space layout, construction quality, and so on. So I thought I should decide on that basis, and since I hadn't had a detached garage, try it and see how it worked out. I was certainly aware that there were other houses on the street which had attached garages, and that an attached garage was permitted. So I didn't think that decision made for the reasons that I did, that was an irreversible decision. So after living with this for a considerable period of time, since I bought the house in 2021, I decided that this was just not what I needed for my personal needs. And that's when I began working with Sal to develop a plan, which we took to the building department. It became compliant, so then it came to ARB, and so here we are. I would just, with respect to 170 Pulaski, and Gary can speak to that more, we've provided photographs of all the properties on the street, which Gary has provided to us, and I think they clearly demonstrate that there is a tremendous diversity of properties. 170 Pulaski is a very recent addition to the street, being completed in October of 2023, so is very contemporaneous with my application. At one of the previous board meetings, there was one of the board members mentioned a group of houses which had detached garages. But I do want to point out that 4 of the owners of those properties that were cited have provided letters of support, including the person directly across the street from me, which would be most directly affected by what I'm proposing to do. Further, one of the houses included in that group is 73 Pulaski Street, which was included incorrectly because it has an attached 2-car garage facing the street. And there was a comment that the houses with the attached garages, which are further down the street, are considerably distant from my house. Well, 73 Pulaski is diagonally across the street from me, so it is certainly not distant. And the other houses are about 800 feet away. One thing that hasn't been mentioned, I think, up to this point, is that the street itself is 1,900 feet long, which is a little over a third of a mile. And it would take about 8 minutes to walk at a normal pace from one end of the street to the other. So it's puzzling to me how anything can be considerably distant on such a short street. I also wanted to add a little bit of context to some of the letters of support. The board has seen the standard form letters that have been provided, but I've been communicating with my neighbors via email and text, and I'd just like to give you some of their specific comments to me through that. Your project scope sounds well thought out and good for the property. Your garage positioning is very similar to the next to the last house on the south side of Pulaski, just before David White's Lane, that was just completed. This is referring to 170. I'm supportive of your project and it makes a great deal of practical sense. I believe that is also in keeping with the rest of the work being done on the street. I think your plans make good sense and have no issues with your proposed changes. I've gotten a couple of comments about the change in the driveway because, of course, I've been keeping my neighbors informed, and I won't give you all of them, but one of them is it doesn't make any sense to move the whole front hedge and street trees to create a new driveway and not use the existing driveway. However, you have our full support whatever you decide to do. And one comment simply said, "It's beautiful. Please let me know if you need anything other than the letter." So I just think it's important for you to have that sense of what my neighbors feel about what I'm proposing to do beyond the standardized letters that you've received. I think otherwise that much has already been covered that I think is relevant to this application. I just feel from my perspective as the owner that what I'm proposing to do is permitted, and there should be very substantial reasons if that's not. It fits within the great diversity of properties on the street, which Gary can certainly speak to in addition to the letter that he's provided to you. John spoke about the reduction in structures and lot coverage. We go from 3 structures to 2. The existing detached garage would be demolished. The existing pool house would also be demolished and would be rebuilt at the same size and style towards the back of the property. This results in a net reduction of 471 square feet of lot coverage, which is meaningful on a property of my size. And in that regard, it might be worth mentioning that 170 Pulaski Street had a pre-existing pool house, which the architect, in presenting to the board, described as being almost 700 square feet, which is quite a large accessory building on that size property. And finally, I think my personal practical needs for myself as the owner of the property should count for something as well. And thank you very much for your attention.
Gary, thank you, Barbara. Well spoken and very gentlewomanly as always. Gary, can you share with us, based upon your expertise, some of your thoughts about the application in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so basically just taking, I have to say I visited Pulaski Street. You know, I went from one end to the other. You know, I drove my car, and since I understand, you know, the issue here is that, in a sense, I drove my car, it was a quiet day, parked definitely directly in front of every driveway or viewed it from the other side of the street. Just looking, not around corners or not around fences, but just viewing it what I would see if I am driving down Pulaski Street. And from almost every driveway, you know, I don't have a percentage, but a very high percentage, the first thing you see is a garage, whether the garage is in the distance, in the middle, or, you know, very close to the front of the house. So like I said, as I said, I viewed all the residents on both sides of the public street. The residential architecture styles and varying periods of construction went from modest cottages to new and much larger construction. As example, there are some houses there from the 1960s, which really, there's no coverage at all. Like I said, it's a diverse street of architecture, older, newer, and probably in the future more to come. So the idea was that, and just making an assessment of any garages seen for those properties that have curb cuts along Pulaski Street, numerous homes do. Due to narrow lot sizes, many of the homes have street-facing garages because of that. And would not seem to, and the proposal for the street-facing garage at 64 Pulaski Street would not seem to go against or be an exception to the current condition of the street. And under the revised scheme, where the curb cut would be relocated to the east side of the property if necessary, the proposed garage would hardly be noticed at all and not viewable if anyone was just viewing the property from head on. And instead, the second scheme could almost become a highlight, where you would see the charming two-story bay. And then, of course, the house would also consider a good example when dealing with garage-facing streets, where you enter on the other side and pull across the house. So in the sense, if scheme 2 is chosen, you will not see any garage whatsoever at this house unless you are, walking onto the property, and even then, you're really going to have to peek around. So in that scheme, there is no garage to view from the street unless you're really walking onto the private property. And like I said, I was also, noted that I thought that 170 as driving down, that, I was also familiar with the house that was torn down by doing research on aerials and so on, which was a modest home, and it had a 2 and it had a very wide 2-car curb cut, which did not change. So in a sense, that is, if anything, that is the biggest example of seeing a garage from a street, and I said that is a recent project, which I found surprising. That is not something from 20, 30 years ago. So honestly, I have to say, it's a charming house. The street has many garages on it, some older, some newer, and like I said, 170 is that example of, if you were looking to see if there are garages on the street, that is a glaring example of that. And I don't see how this project really will affect the street in any negative way. And being that there are many neighbors who approve of it, I just don't understand why this shouldn't be approved, to have the garage up front.
Thank you, Gary. Let me just add a couple of other things, which again has baffled me, your approach, the board's approach on this, because one of the things that when the client came in, I said, well, this has a lot of great things that the board likes to see in terms of it's a narrow lot and the existing lot coverage. We're taking 471 square feet of lot coverage away, which is a big deal on a lot this small, but we're also, correct me if I'm wrong, is this driveway on the access driveway on the easterly side of the property is going away. So you have a lot more green on the property, which this board always pushes us to. And then you get yourself caught in sort of a little bit of a dilemma here, because people will say, well, just because you're putting a buffer, a vegetative buffer in front of a property, that doesn't mean that that solves everything. No, it doesn't, but we think that it's very pleasing nevertheless. But at the same time, you ask for vegetative buffer on very often. So it's a little bit can't have it both ways. I'm really, it's hard for me to say this without thinking, you'll think, oh, John, just because it's your case doesn't mean that we should approve them all. What I'm going to say, though, is before I come to this board, I do a lot of the board's work. I don't take cases that I think are contrary to what this board can work with or within the envelope of its flexibility. And I think probably the best example of that is a case that was withdrawn without prejudice this evening. one of my applicant's case that was withdrawn without prejudice. I had concerns about that and the way that fit into the neighborhood. The client nevertheless wanted to go forward after modifications that I had made, hoping that that would get close enough. I wasn't surprised when the board wasn't happy about it. I said to the client, this is just not going to work. This, I find myself in a dilemma. It's not a big ask. It's really, really not a big ask. And so I'd ask you either to vote on it this evening, and we'll take our remedy elsewhere. We've already spoken to the client about that. Or what I'd like you to do is to consider it a little bit more. I think I think if the law, because I was rather surprised at the sort of the backhand it got when we first came in. Candidly, I really was. I don't think there's really not any harm to the neighborhood in this, and there's a lot of the stuff that you folks push us towards that you're ignoring, which is, I think.
John.
Yes.
I would like to see the two cases you cited earlier, not Ferrara, of course, which I have read, but the other two, you said Dolphin and something else.
Yes, the Dolphin versus Shelter Island. That's a appellate division case, which I litigated over in Shelter Island. And the other one is Coleman versus Corman. That's Elise Corman. I'll get them both to you.
Thank you.
And what they talk about is the effect. There's EBA cases, but one of the things you're looking at here, of course, is impact on the neighborhood. And the court was not very happy that those boards just ignored the very significant support from the neighborhood. It's a tough thing. You know, I tell people always say to me, well, what happens if I don't get the support of my neighbors? And I say to them, well, they don't have a yes or a no, but they're supposed to be weighed. They're not just supposed to be dismissed out of hand. And these courts both were like,
in a way, it's quite the opposite of Ferrara, in which.
I wasn't raising Ferrara for that reason.
No, I hear you, but in which the neighbors turned the tide of the board's consideration, which the court found to be arbitrary and capricious.
No. That's because the board found it quite arbitrary and capricious because they were so very supportive of it, and also delved into the neighbors' comments, and specifically, and they were just generalized local complaints. You've seen that in all the research you've done. These are very specific neighbors saying, not only are we supportive of it, we like it. Mm-hmm. This is very different. I also cited Ferrara for the fact that the court in Ferrara was very critical of this board acting as anything other than an architectural review board, as opposed to a site plan review board.
I didn't find that in the Ferrara case.
It says right in it. It says right in. I litigated it specifically. The court says
so.
You don't have site plan approval.
I found that they quoted you talking about site plan.
Favorably, they quoted me and they quoted Mr. Robinson in it.
Okay.
If anyone thinks that for any reason Ferrara doesn't stand for the position
I
that
appreciate
this board
this.
doesn't have site plan.
Well, I appreciate this. Should we?
Well, wait.
I always enjoy it.
I always enjoy Alice too.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I may surprise you. I'm going to agree with John on a couple of things. We don't have site approval. And he's right. The neighbors do not have a vote. We have a vote. And when Sue, you said the board has. You said the neighbors do not have a vote, but the board does. I'm paraphrasing.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
No, that's not what I said, Jeff. Please,
He
I'm
wants
very particular.
He wants you to consider that the neighbors
yes
are across the street.
Yes.
And that they will see this.
Right.
And that they support it.
Right.
And that neighbor support is important. And that we do consider neighbors.
And I do, and that's what I was about to say.
Right. Typically, you take it into account when neighbors oppose.
Okay.
So now I was just saying on the exact. So let me say this. So we take into account the neighbors. That's what was our instructions when we've gone to meetings. We take the neighbors' opinions into account. At the end of the day, it's the five of us who vote, taking in all the things we hear from the public and from the applicant. So in that, I think we're all in agreement. And we're not talking about site location here. What we're talking about is strictly architecture, and that which the code says, which is we are to approve or disapprove construction approve or disapprove without consideration of harmonious relationship of the new or altered buildings to such buildings as already exist, environs in which they are set. It goes on to say the board is to exercise its sound judgment in rejecting plans in which its opinion are not harmonious, of harmonious character because the proposed style, materials, mass, color, detail, or placement upon the property or in relation to spaces between buildings and natural landscape, or because of plans do not provide location and so on. So anything that I say is strictly related to the architecture and the environs and harmony. So as much as Gary took a drive through the neighborhood, Sage, let's take a drive through the neighborhood. Okay, I'm going to raise my hand.
The street or the neighborhood? Or just the neighborhood as you define it?
Let's not react to something you haven't seen yet.
I've seen it.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
I haven't seen it.
No,
yes,
no,
you have.
Today.
He's
No. This is new.
okay. He's showed it already. Cherry pick.
Okay, so let's do this. No, this is different, John. So bear with me.
Okay.
Okay. So let me share a screen. Hold on a second, Sage. Share the screen. Let's see. I think this is it. Share that. Okay. So let's do this, and we will actually start with the very property in question, not the property in question. Hold on. Let me just put a pause here. Hold on.
Jeff,
hold on.
if I just may interject.
No, John, you're
No, I
going
want
to
to ask
quiet
you to
while I speak.
specifically
I will
tell me by address.
I will.
Please.
I will. Okay, this is 170. If I can stop.
I'm just going to
Hold
say
on a
this.
sec.
We didn't interrupt.
Okay.
No, I just
Please,
want
we did
to
not
identify
interrupt.
them.
Please
That's
let
fine.
him do his
Fair
presentation
question.
without interruption.
All right, so
Mark,
this
To be fair.
this is 170, which is the one you spoke about. This is on the most eastern part
You're not
of.
coming up on the board.
This is on the most eastern part of the street, a third of the mile away, 12 houses away from the property in question, and one street away, separated by North Woolley Street. This is a drive down the entirety of the street. So 170, 160.
The problem is
We
you are
don't
not-
see
I
anything.
don't see him,
it.
Jeff.
Oh, you
You're
don't
not
see it?
connecting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're driving.
You're driving solo.
I'm doing. Sage just says it's shared.
Are you paying attention to traffic?
No, I'm not. I must not be. All right, hold on a second.
Clearly you don't have a standard.
So Sage, you
Maybe
can't
you
see that? Oh, son of a gun. Oh, man.
If you will allow me, I think I can bring up a file which has.
No,
Gary's-
No,
Barbara,
actually,
Barbara,
this
this is
is
my
not
turn
you.
now.
This is actually no.
All right, so you know what?
Don't aid the bad guy.
Can you figure this out?
I think you may be sharing a different screen.
Okay, so stop that. So let's go to share screen. This?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, maybe.
Yes, that should be. Here we go.
Okay. Now, where is it?
The red button?
So,
Is this a film or
Yeah.
still
Oh,
photos?
What's black? Oh, what this is?
There's the
Was he
All
driving?
right. Well, if not, I'll go to still pictures. I've got still pictures as well.
Was he driving
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
holding his iPhone up?
I hope not.
As I said, Gary has provided a photo of every house on the street with a caption, which we can go through. if that
I'm
would
sorry, but just give us a minute here because
That's in the record. It's a drive.
Oh, we're zooming. Bummer. Well, maybe.
Okay.
So it's showing there. It's just not doing the video.
Can't get it to play.
All right. Well, let's go a different. Let's try a different route. Let's go back to
think your first 3 minutes are up.
Hold on. Thanks, John. All right. So let's do it this way. Let's see if this works.
So I'm just gonna, if you go to sharing, you'll change your share.
Where? Oh,
It's closed tomorrow.
okay. Well, I can listen to Susan first, and then it can come back to me. Okay. Go to other board members while we try to figure this out.
Go to new share.
Here.
Yep. And then click on what you're trying to share, which I think is that one. And then hit share.
I could say something about the neighbors, which is
Name
we're
share,
required to
yes.
do municipal trading every year.
Mm-hmm.
So someone
Oh, there we
actually
go.
asked a question about how
And then if you hit
important
next,
are
you should be
the
able to progress.
letters from the neighbors.
Mhm.
And the attorney who was doing the presentation
Mhm.
mentioned that
Mhm.
they may be somewhat important,
Mhm.
but when you ask someone you live across the street from or next to, the candor of that person may or may not be affected by the fact that you have to live with these people, and that he didn't think that it was as important as you're implying. He did this. I have to go. We have to go to these things. It was those
that's somebody
guys,
trying to get
BB and
CLE
whatever.
credits.
And so I thought, and I was so happy that someone had asked that question. And I do think that, and the other thing that he said was, and perhaps they want to do the same thing. So, and I thought, you know what, you're right.
Who's
I'm on
next?
a board where if I let someone do something, then other people might jump in the boat, and maybe, so I need to think of the implications of that.
I understand.
All
If I
right.
could
So
just
those are two
That's fine.
things that I feel.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Jeff, are you ready?
Yes. So we're back in business. So in your conversation, both you and Gary and Barbara mentioned that there are many, the words were many, common, and numerous. And there are some 35 houses on that street. I think 5, and we can see it in the pictures, only 5 have front-facing garages. Now, 170, please let me speak. Well, we can go through it, folks, please. You just want to count, we can count. So let's go through the pictures. This is 170. It's a third of a mile away. It's 12 houses away, separated by North Woolley Street. This is the next house. This is a ranch house, single garage. That's, I think, 160. 154, rear garage. 146 or 144. I don't even think it has a garage. This is a cape with a facing garage. Okay. That is, I think, that is 110, I believe. There we go. Okay, that's your
That's
house.
existing.
That's 64A. So some of the pictures jumped around here. They're out of order. And I'm not selecting any of these. So all the houses on the street. Oh, this is, that one before was, I think, across this one, which is facing, but it's also about 80 feet back. That's 73, 75. I think that's okay, but that house is about 80 feet back from the street.
How is that probative?
I'm just saying it's further back, so it's not in the same location as the applicant's house and proposal. So again, scaling and mass. Again, all in the back, detached. One more. Again, these are very different houses at very different ends of the street. And then that's the last one on the northeast side. So, like I said, my count, it's not numerous, whether it's 4 or 5, or if you count 6 out of 35. And the houses that are to the left and right, the east and the west, and across the street, it's clear as you go down the street that forward-facing, street-facing garages are a rarity. Okay, maybe that's too strong a word, but surely not many, surely not numerous. Okay, and when we look at the houses, 5 to the right, 5 to the left, on the applicant side of the street or the other side of the street, in my judgment, that a forward-facing garage is not, street-facing garage is not harmonious with the street.
Why don't you talk about this garage on this house?
Well, this house on this garage, I think that the front porch, and you can stop sharing the screen. The house is beautiful as it is. I think the garage detracts from what is a beautiful porch and consistent with and is harmonious with the other houses that have either porches or the absence of garages facing the street.
Okay. Susan?
I don't really have anything to say right now.
Okay, Jane?
I'm gonna abstain also.
I'm not abstaining, I'm just not talking now.
What do you mean abstain?
You're just not
I'm
talking.
just saying I have no comment.
Okay.
Okay. Here's how I fall on the whole thing. When we started this, we sort of expressed from the beginning that we had reservations about this because the garage became the most prominent feature of the house. It was a gentle porch, and now we have this garage. We've sort of commented from the beginning that we didn't feel the front-facing garage was appropriate on this house in this location, and to the point that we didn't actually ask for the vegetative buffer. You brought it in to try to screen the fact that there was a garage facing the street. That was not a suggestion of this board. I don't define this as recessed because I think it's the most prominent front-facing feature. And the comment that we made about the garage was just to you, John, because you said, you can't tell me we can't have a garage. And that was our response is, but you have one. No, that's not what you said at the time. If you review the tape, you said, you can't tell me I can't have a garage. And I said, no, actually, you have a garage.
No,
so, but I think in the whole,
that's wrong, Mark.
but in the whole,
most of the time you speak the absolute truth.
I think
that's just wrong.
That's
back. Wrong.
But I think what you're hearing from the board is this front-facing garage on this house, on this street, we don't find harmonious in this location, and I don't think you had the votes for it. We feel like making it a prominent feature is taking away from actually the architecture of the house and making it a less attractive house, and it's not a feature that we feel is appropriate for this house in this neighborhood.
Okay.
So would you like us to?
John, may I make a couple of comments at this point? Just from the standpoint of factual accuracy, there are 8 houses with attached garages. So just be clear, I've counted them myself multiple times. There are 8. So let us just make that point here. Also, the comments about the front porch. As I've mentioned, this is a very busy street. Over 60% of the houses on the street do not have a front porch with what would be called sitting porch space. They may have a portico, they may have a small roof, but they don't have a sitting porch. And when the street has a great deal of traffic, a porch like this is not going to be particularly useful, especially because traffic is going to be heavier in the summer months when traffic is going to be heavier naturally. Further, 64 Pulaski was built with a very attractive enclosed porch on the back of the house. So the front porch on this particular house, while it might be an appealing idea, I think architectural considerations have to take into account what's practical and functional. And on this street, a front porch where you're going to sit is really not all that useful. So I just would like to be sure that that point is there. Finally, if I may, I'd like to just bring up this comparison of 64 and 170 Pulaski Street. And I would just really like to ask how what I'm proposing to do, this is rendering to rendering, we've looked at photographs, but because my proposal is based on a rendering, it seemed most appropriate to show you the 2 renderings. It's just really hard for me to see how this is something negative with respect to the street. So I'd just like to make that point as the owner and applicant.
And I would I want to respond to a couple things. One thing that Susan's, just a couple things in terms of, because this question of support and not support obviously fascinates me because it's always in play. The fact that one lawyer who's probably trying to get some extra CLE credits for just by by appearing at a, just, Susan, this is important that you hear
Okay,
it, because
well,
it's
I will
important that you hear it. I
respond.
have no idea who that was. I have no idea what their expertise was. I have no idea whether or not they've litigated these issues. I have no idea. Okay, number one. I've found, particularly in the village of Southampton, because people are extremely protective of their property values, it is not easy to get letters of support, because people will say to you, no, I don't want that to happen. So the fact that someone is
I
going
would
to
tell you sitting here, I have not found that to be true. I get
I have to
Xerox
get-
letters. I get
Mark,
I
have
get
to
thousands of
I have
letters
to
from
get them
neighbors that
all
I'm
the
clear
time.
they haven't written, so I don't know that I
have
believe
to
that.
get them all. I have to get them all the time. It's not that easy, because people are very protective of their property values. As a matter of fact, in my experience, people are more likely to come out in this village and object to things. You see it in your own hearings. I see it in my practice. Half of my practice is upholding with the municipality. Half of my litigation practice is upholding with the municipality neighbors who most of the time have the same damn thing. Neighbors who've decided that they want to sue the board. So Southampton, obviously, in the village in particular, on the East End, is extremely litigious, and people are not. And Alice, I don't have to tell you, it's the truth. So people are not so willing, and they're not cowed by any sort of, peer pressure or anything like that. That's been my experience. It changes from municipality to municipality, but that's certainly been my feeling. And for some lawyer to say, they're not that important, again, I'll give to Alice the two cases where it says they are very significant. Make up your mind. If we're
Yes.
not going to, if vote it up or down tonight, we are going to go to Riverhead if you deny it. So let's just get to it.
Okay.
I think what I'm hearing from you is the type of subjectivity, which is I find very, very unusual from this board. Usually people have reasons why you don't like things. All I'm hearing is subjectivity. You don't like front-facing garages, really, in the village of Southampton?
No, I don't. I think there was a comment about architecture
Can I
harmonious.
make a suggestion?
We're going to vote.
You're gonna vote? I would love to get Nina up to speed.
That would be
She
fair.
should watch the videos and.
Can we get Nina up to speed and just have a full board vote on it? I mean,
You mean adjourn it tonight, get Indian up to speed, and
yeah.
adjourn it to next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to do. I'm
why
ready for a
not?
vote, but
What?
That's a
you
fair
have
suggestion.
time.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair to everyone.
Okay.
If John doesn't
John
object,
accepts that.
You're not within your time period.
if Mrs. Maddock doesn't object, then why not?
Well, I would certainly appreciate any further consideration. I think we've raised many reasons why this application should get a positive response. So I would, if John is in agreement, I would be in agreement.
That's fine.
Okay. So then, are there any questions from the public?
No, because they're all in support.
But I do have
I
to
don't-
say,
Well,
can I
the
please?
pending snowstorm, that
I'd
may
like
not
to
be the reason.
correct the record that
Yeah.
the training is Suffolk County village officials, where 100 people show up. No, there are lawyers like you, Mr.
Okay.
Bennett.
Susan, I was the
So
town
to
attorney.
make-
Okay, I'm going to
Yes,
move this.
some of the people that
Okay,
get those
I'm going to move this
lectures
forward
know.
ahead of a rainstorm here. So I'm going to move at the applicant's request that we adjourn 64 Pulaski Street to February 26th. Is there a second?
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
There you go. Thank you. Thanks. All right. So that brings us to.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. 22
Thank you,
Mil-
Gary.
22 Mill Windmill Lane.
I don't think so.
Is the applicant here for 22 Windmill Lane?
So,
Okay, while the applicant's coming up here, what I understand is this project came to us first for a pre-submission, then it came to us and it's in front of us now, but it is still also in front of other boards. This is correct?
I think didn't we adjourn it to a date certain, even though I didn't think we should?
I don't really remember that conversation specifically. I know it is.
Oh, yeah, I think that's exactly what I said.
Well, then this would be an opportunity to reevaluate what the appropriate date would be.
Yeah, I think we
the
should do
applicant.
that.
But it
Okay.
is pending before the planning board, who has taken secret lead agency status as they work through the site plan issues.
Yeah, they should.
And it's also going to the Board of Zoning Appeals for some parking relief. But in the meantime, as you know, they've asked for input from this board because of the historic nature of the building. The input that this board has given has impacted the site plan and also the setbacks, which determine what relief may or may not be needed at the zoning board.
Okay, so what do we need to do now? Just
Is Ryan here?
I'm here. How are you?
Hi, Ryan.
So,
Good to see you guys again. Can I begin?
well, wait a minute.
now you have me all confused.
2 boards have not ruled on this? 2 other boards?
They're
So,
both in progress right now. They've been
right,
meeting.
I hear that, and I was on one of those other boards. And I believe that honestly, it doesn't make sense for us to be reviewing this when changes obviously will have to be made in terms of setbacks, parking, those are big
We
issues.
we
about
actually
the
don't
use
know
of
if we don't
space.
actually know if those are obvious. What we don't know is what changes will have to be made.
Right, but that's the problem, because it changes what they're gonna submit.
Okay.
So the plan that we have now, I would say, pretty unlikely that that's what's gonna happen.
Alice, what would you advise us to do here? Go ahead and hear it because the applicant's here.
Appropriate. We don't know what the boards are gonna do, and they have had conversations with the planning board, I believe.
Yeah, right, Ryan,
right.
but
That's right.
I get that. But generally, we need the decisions of those boards in order to define for you the final product you can put of us so we know that what we're looking at can actually be built. But we are where we are. I'm asking council opinion. What do you think the right way forward is here?
You've already taken a look at it.
Okay.
We're not lead agency. Since Ryan is here, I think doing him the courtesy of taking a quick look at it makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense for the board with the largest agenda to spend a lot of time looking at this project when
Okay.
we are definitely not lead agency.
Okay. So then what I'm going to say is this. This came before us. We gave you some comments about some very specifics that you've addressed. I'm going to ask the board just to vote if we, just to comment, not to vote, to comment if we feel that the way you've currently addressed them is in line with what we were thinking, and then we're going to re-adjourn it. Okay?
Then I think we should take it off the agenda.
I think we should remove it. I agree. Okay. So if you just want to take us through the changes you made based on the comments that were given to you based on the drawings you gave us on November 21st, that would be great.
Sure.
Is he sharing his screen and I'm taking a video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you
Yeah,
see my
Ryan
screen
does
board
that.
numbers?
Yes,
You
yes.
did it. It's good.
Yep. If I recall correctly, there was some concern about the weight and heaviness of the freeze board as wrapped around. There was a concern about the way the building stepped back and the weight down, and some comments about over the doors ending on the space, on the new construction spaces behind the historic structure.
Yes, well, there's also other comments too along the way. Can I
Okay.
go through them?
Quickly, yes.
Okay, so you guys asked us to add some landscaping, all that good stuff up front. That's what we did.
Okay.
You asked us to go down to the Historic Society. This is the only picture that we have on record of this house. I don't know who Mr. Harvard is, nor do they.
Cool.
But this is in line with-
But he's a friend with an artist.
Yeah, it is in line with what's there. You got the window patterns.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We had the portico and things of that nature. So this was our go-by. I went into the building. It's not very safe, to be honest with you, but we did as much as we could do to see what was there. What we did was we kept the windows in line with where they were. We added this portico. One of the comments was about this freeze board being too big, so we reduced it. If you look on this, this drawing, it appears that these are all divided lights. So I tried to stay as historic with this as I possibly could. So what we did is we added the divided lights in here as well. And then we also talked about the lettering as required, you know, with the the proposed addition have an aerial and the historic have an italic. That was one thing. Also, we talked about the door hardware and everything else like that. So any door hardware or any numbering on the historic one is going to be black, like wrought iron, like it would have been back in the day, and anything over on the addition is going to be white. And we also asked for a streetscape, which is what we provided here with our historic building. Excuse me. The addition, the bike shop, Shippies, and the other building over here. And then we also did our renderings and we brought everything down. And then we also talked about the lighting being different, but we'll just do under soffit lighting here, which will be different from here. You know, and we really tried to do everything that we possibly could to appease you in spite of you know, whatever adversity we're facing at the moment. And this is actually the inside of the building. And you can see here, I mean, it's rotting. It's in really bad shape here. So I really am trying to push. That's the back of the building that's actually collapsed. And I am doing everything in my power to push this along to save this house. But at some point, time is going to run out on us, and I'm doing everything I can.
We're not going to be really happy to say that the reason it's falling apart is neglect, but okay. So what do you want? What do you?
Still saving it.
Okay, so you've addressed the heavy weight of the crown molding that was at the top. You put some landscaping in. Nice, thank you. The whole idea of soffit lighting in the pediment over the historic house doesn't feel particularly accurate. Anybody having just short-term feedback comments they'd like to get them so they can just understand it, because they've now got to go get sign off and two other boards of work and come back and actually present this project. So
I'm just curious if those windows are in the same place that they are now. They look very large.
We couldn't, because there's so much framing and everything else in there, and also I'm not going on the second floor of that building. It's not safe. And on the inside of this, there's actually, I don't know if I have a picture, all the windows are actually cut out like this, right? So they have two big archways going back to back. So I don't have a heck of a lot of go by, but what I do have is this picture here. And once, you know, it's shored up and all that other good stuff, we'll be happy to do whatever we have to do to make this more historically accurate, pending that it's not a life safety issue before it's built or after it's built.
that makes sense. Okay. I think what I can tell you tonight is that you seem to have taken a step toward address the issues that you were presented with at the initial presentation of the meeting. I think the next step is actually now to adjourn this until such time as you've gone through the other two boards and can bring it back to the ARB as a buildable structure.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, what do we adjourn this to? We just take it off the agenda?
Remove it from the agenda.
Okay, you know what?
We can, I think we can.
Well, here's the thing.
It's going to have to be re-advertised.
It's going to have to be re-advertised
long
because,
time.
yeah, it'll been too long to be on the agenda too many times, and because it probably won't look, it may not look like this. So any substantial change will require being renoticed anyway.
I think we can adjourn it until they get some sort of conditional planning board approval.
Okay. So is that a motion to adjourn until they get planning board approval, or is it a motion to remove it from the agenda?
Well, what do you think, Alex?
Well, we typically don't motion things depending on other actions because it makes it impossible to track. So I would suggest either the board pick a date in the future to reevaluate or decide to remove it off the agenda and have them come back at which time they're ready.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, there is no way to track it. I don't
Okay, so I'm going to motion to remove 22 Windmill Lane from our current agenda, and they will come back and represent and renotice at a time when the building has passed the other boards. So motion remove 22 Windmill Lane to be renoticed and return in the future. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll see you when you're through the other two.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Make sure I don't do that thing. File. I think I just did. Okay. So that brings up. I just filed my agenda with them on that too.
Dale Street?
Yes, 62 Dale Street for construction of a one-story single-family dwelling. What I did is there it is. Hello, two things if you remember to speak into the microphone and introduce yourself for the record.
Garrett Pike, homeowner.
Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the board for allowing us the time to review our plans from the original meeting and taking the time to soak in a lot of the positive feedback that you guys gave. I would also like to introduce my friend Salim, who will be helping. I have since retained a local architect, Jorge Gomez, who unfortunately had to attend a family matter, so Salim was nice enough to help streamline this presentation and give you guys some clear presentation.
Great, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. I don't think anyone said it from this side of the table, but congratulations to the two new appointees. That's terrific. As Garrett said, I think I want to thank everybody for the candid feedback. So I prepared by watching the original submission, studying the minutes, watching other submissions. And so the feedback was clear. And hopefully we want to demonstrate two things. One, that we've not only listened and adjusted our approach, but actually took a lot of the commentary and direction to heart. So we stepped back, re-looked at the project, and I hope now it is simple, it's modest, it's more traditional, and hopefully in keeping with the Southampton ethic. As Garrett said, we went so far as to retain a new architect, one who is more fluent in Southampton and its design philosophy. So hopefully you'll recognize the effort we've gone to. So just to recap, 62 Dale Street is a single-story dwelling. It was built in 1949. I think the board did make a visit. It's not in great condition. And thank you, I think on the November the 27th, we noted the motion not to designate it a landmark. With that in mind, the new design is a 5-bedroom, again, a single-story dwelling. We have taken the guidance to heart. I'll point you through maybe just at the beginning what we did, the new design ethic, and then, if you'll permit me, we'll go through the 5 points of feedback one by one.
That'd be great.
And we'll demonstrate what we did. So, essentially, I think the commentary on the house is that it didn't fit the Southampton ethic. The front was too ostentatious, too busy. The rear was too contemporary for the rest of the house. So I said, great learning, great feedback. And so what we've done now is to simplify the design. So the idea is simplicity and modesty now goes front to back. We've rethought beyond just the areas of guidance now to the entire structure. So if we take the 5 points one by one, maybe I'll just refresh us what the point was, the approach we took, and then hopefully show that we've addressed. So as a general consideration, I think the original design had black windows, and the board noted that was a non-starter, so these are now white. So the Anderson 400 series in Arctic white. And that matches the shingle on the side, which is hardyboard, also white, and we have a sample here for you.
It's hardyboard shingle?
Correct.
Shingle, right, not a hardyboard.
Correct. Shingle.
Yeah.
So let's get specific. So on the west elevation, on the front of the house, if you recall, the original design had glass sliders.
Yes.
Can you see it? Had glass sliders, it had transom windows above, and I think the board noted two things. One, inconsistent design being the front of the house. Secondly, too much fenestration. So those have now been reduced, as you can see,
to 3 more traditional windows. For the second comment was really around the design of the front. So originally it had frieze board, had dental treatment, board and batten, and that was all very confusing. So I think we've just removed them entirely and just keeping now with the simple aesthetic.
Yeah, it was pretty noisy.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the third point is related to maybe something we'll talk about later, but because we had the sliders in the front, I think, Mr. Bradley, you brought up a great point to say it was very confusing where the front door was. So hopefully with these windows, we're now drawing the attention to the front door.
But the front door is on the side, is that
Right.
right? That
But we
was
had
before.
we had the sliders.
Yeah,
and
the
we had
west elevation is the elevation that faces the street.
Correct.
Right.
The way it's situated on the
But
property.
before the bedroom
Yeah.
was there?
Yeah.
Yes,
The bedroom's there,
Never
but-
forgotten
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I think the point
it was
was
the front yard is
looked like
patio
there were-
syndrome.
Yeah, it looked like there were too many front doors.
Right,
so we
but,
removed them
but
entirely.
that which is up there is the rear.
This is the rear.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, the front. Wrong picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the front wall.
Yep.
Should we stop for commentary each point? Or do you
Nope.
want to-
Oh, why don't you
Okay.
finish all the way through and then we'll.
On the rear elevation, similarly, the original design had what the board felt was too much glass. If you remember, there was the wall-to-wall glass pocket doors and the transom windows on top. As you can see, that's now changed. So we have 2 sliding doors made symmetrical by a chimney. Chimney, incidentally, when we thought about the house, is a great addition because it makes it available year-round. The chimney is going to be painted white, so you have a material sheet. Fourth, the board wanted a demonstration of where the house was in line with its neighboring properties.
Mm-hmm.
So as a demonstration, this is an aerial representation. The house is in line with its neighbors. It's in no way encroaching further forward. The fifth point was around hardscaping. So the original design, as you recall, had a driveway that reached much further down. And this is page 11 and 13 in your packs. And was much wider. And so we've taken into account the vegetation, narrowed both the width and brought it forward. I think the last point, although not noted.
Question. Can I ask you just a question? Page 15. Are you on page 15?
Yeah, the aerial.
Yeah, that's a garage on the very back part line.
This is an existing shed.
That's a shed. Okay.
The one.
Because it's right. It's on the property line.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And then lastly, just we did look at the side entrance. We did consider both designs, and we sat with the architect, and we had at least 10 iterations. There's no way, I think, to move that entrance and still have the usability of the house inside. Functionally, it just doesn't work. And so what we've done is to add a very discreet entry port for 2 reasons. One, it helps shelter from inclement weather, and secondly, again, back to the commentary around light pollution. It allows us to have very soft lighting that doesn't. That porch is going to be treated with clear cedar shingles. Sorry, siding.
Yeah, clear cedar siding, tongue and groove. Just basic, clean, natural material.
Okay.
So in summary, I think we've hopefully addressed the design ethic. It's much cleaner, more traditional, and modest. We've looked at the fenestration and reduced it materially for light pollution reasons, and hopefully addressed your points.
Great.
What, was there a
Board
parking
comments.
issue?
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who is Thomas Trafaro? Is he still working on this?
No,
part?
he was the other one.
Okay, so we have him as the applicant here. When the building inspectors reviewed this application, they noted that it did not meet the parking requirement, and they had sent an email. There's a note in the file to Thomas that they need to accommodate 4 cars on site to meet parking. So I have a copy of that for you, since it seems like that didn't reach the current architect. All right, so I'm going to share that with you. Unfortunately, based on the arrangement here, I don't think it would be possible to meet the house's parking requirement. So it would either have to be reconfigured to meet code or seek a variance from parking in this current configuration.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
One on the side and then three.
You can't
only
stack.
stack two.
Correct.
But I thought that they, on November 18th, there was a document. Do you have that in your file?
The previous one had.
Oh, that was for the old house. Never
Let-
mind.
let's be sure to use the mic.
Okay, forget it. Sorry.
Okay.
So would
Well,
the
let's-
board be willing for us to address that hardscape?
Well, maybe your
Well,
driveway can get bigger again.
Yeah, we're good.
The original
It's gonna
design
have
had
to,
two, though, I think.
let's get your comments first, then let's go from there. Comments?
The design is much improved. The whole concept is much improved. What I noted, had you thought about adding eaves? Right now, it's flush. The roof is flush to the side of the house. And when I've seen that, in fact, it's a house on West Prospect Street, and conceptually, design-wise, it looks good. In execution, it leaves something flat. So it's something you might want to consider.
That's different.
Yeah.
I actually like it.
Yeah.
But what?
Or
what
Yankee
goes
gutters
on
are
up
good.
here?
There's no gutters.
Because
is
it's the basement level and the first level, and then you have a pitched.
So
What's in there?
So in the back portion of the house facing, the rear, that's all cathedral. And then in the front of the house, which is where, there's only 2 bedrooms on the main level.
Yeah.
So we were able to cathedral the primary bedroom, the other guest bedroom.
I didn't see that.
The idea is because it's such a narrow lot, it just gives a sense of.
No, I just wondered what's going on. Because it's hard to see on a flat piece of paper.
We thought about adding, on the front of the house, adding just
I
to
think
make
it's okay.
Yeah.
I think it looks okay. The parking's an issue for sure. And maybe I thought it was pretty well studied about what you could do with what you had, which is severe, but I don't mind it because you're in such a tight scene there.
The balance was, I think originally there was 2 on the side, and I guess.
No, there was like the master bedroom faced the street. It just makes me laugh, giggle. And it was hard to find the front door. And there were details that were just couldn't be together. This is actually stylized and thought out, which I appreciate.
That's a question. In the chimney that you're showing on page 5, where does that intersect? I know we say over the interior plan, but where does that intersect the interior?
Is that the one closer to the street?
Yes.
So that's just a dummy.
It's a faux chimney, just a symmetry.
So it's a functionless chimney.
Correct.
It's just sitting there. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, that's a design choice. Jeff?
I already gave my comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, Nina.
I think it's overall I think it's an elegant, minimal, simple, discreet, quiet, beautiful home. I mean, I'm not big on fake chimneys, but and my only one comment, and this is just architecture design, sort of subjective opinion, is the entrance. I think it's sticking out a little bit like and I feel like including the powder room in the box at the end. I'm not crazy about that. That's maybe something you want to maybe ask your architect to come up with another. Maybe lower the entrance to the line of the roof. That's one single. I understand you want to make the entrance pop out more. Maybe cover it with vines. Maybe somehow, or maybe you could illuminate. I don't know. Just make it glow in a way that it fits in with the house in a welcoming way, as opposed to sticking out.
Yeah. To your point, because we aren't really able to have a front entrance from facing the street, we wanted to make sure that if anyone was coming to the property,
Right, they would
they could
understand.
they could see. And the reason we just went with the cedar siding is just clean, natural.
Well, I think cedar siding is great, and I think you could make it age and glow with some uplighting. And you could, I just maybe it's just the way it's represented on this the north elevation.
So it looks on the diagram bigger than it is.
Yeah.
It's quite discreet, but I think the point we took away from the last one is so there's no confusion where the front entrance is. It sort of leads the eye, and I think the cedar is a material that's different to the shingle helps.
No, I like the choice of material and just the proportions where there's something slightly, but I think otherwise it's a very elegant and simple, minimal solution and relates well to the landscape and neighborhood.
Jane?
Excuse me, much improved. Definitely appreciate the changes, and I just think we need to get the parking in order
And maybe the lighting also, if you're gonna have outside lighting, if you wanna get this done all at once. We need a tear sheet on.
So you're suggesting we add outdoor lighting?
No,
Okay.
but you're
Well,
going
Right now, we
to.
only
I
have-
bet you $5 you're gonna want to.
I think you need to talk to the building department. I think some of those walls you need lighting by code.
Oh, really?
So
'Cause they're-
in the front porch, we'll just have under,
Yeah.
in the front porch, just
Right.
soffit
Yeah.
lighting. Just
If you could get that all together, you would be finished.
Yeah.
Be a nice thing.
Here are my comments. The chimney to nowhere, I just don't think you need it. It's superfluous and you've gone so far it's simple, make it simpler. The chimney can just go. While I understand the bump out at the front door, it still doesn't celebrate the front door to me. I get looking at it this way that, oh, that might be where the front door is. But when I get there, it looks like a shed at the side of the house because I think the width of the opening and the recess to the door, which is a single door, doesn't have side light to it. It looks, is it a glass door?
No, it's just it's not glass, it's normal.
Just the way that it turns into a dark box. So I think there's a way that you could celebrate that, and I think you might want to look at what the roof line attachment is to the house to celebrate it just a little more. It is now when I drive in, I understand where I'm supposed to go. That's a combination of the bump out and you've actually paved a walkway for us, which is great. I think the progress you've made from the last time we saw this house is extremely appreciated. I think that's the one area to rethink. And my only suggestion for you, if you're putting that chimney all the way back there, make it a double chimney and have an outside patio, an outside fireplace. Yeah, because that seems to be missing. Be my suggestion. Do you have any comments from the public? So overall, I think you hear where we're going. You're close. And if there are going to be exterior fixtures, we need to see what they look like and where they'd be located in the scale. If you're planning to put gutters on here, be they Yankee gutters or any other form of gutter, let us know what they would look like, because I think they would actually change what these clean lines look like right now. And really think on the front, but from what I'm hearing, we're down to very few issues. So you've made tremendous stride.
So just for clarity on the parking, would the board be okay for us to go back to the double on the side?
I believe you have to go. That's the building department. Yeah.
We just noticed it.
Yeah.
So I believe originally we had 2 spots here in the front of the house. We reduced it to 1, and then we felt we could stack 3.
You cannot.
So
You cannot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course we can, but we'll do 2.
All right. Well, you'll take it to the building department. They'll walk you through what code is and then go from there. So, would you like us to adjourn this to the 25th, 26th? Okay. Motion to accept the applicant's request for adjournment for 62 Dale Street to February 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, we're skipping way down now. We're now up to 5 Carriage Lane.
What happened?
No, I missed one. Oh, that got removed.
Not really?
What got removed?
31
Pheasant?
Close. I think John was referring to it earlier, actually.
Oh.
Let me make sure I'm right. That takes us to 5 Carriage Lane. It's a new matter. Do you have affidavits, and are they in order? 5 Carriage Lane, do you have affidavits?
Yes, I do.
See our friend, the attorney over there.
My name is Jeff Sands. I'm the architect of the project.
Okay.
This is an amendment of a previously approved ARB approval. What we're doing here, right in the back of the house, none of these changes can be seen from the street. There's some quirky roof lines in the back of the house, and this house doesn't have a basement or a garage now, so we needed some additional storage, and also we felt that this change would also clean up the roof line in the back. So this would be a nice clean gable instead of multiple roof pitches. And it just cleans up the back, and it also gives them some attic space above, which they desperately need because there's no storage in this house whatsoever.
These are substantial.
All right. Go. So wait a minute.
What's with the lot?
Let me.
Some kind of. What's with the lot coverage? Is that right?
These are. This is a
I know
unique.
something. Housing group. What do you call it? So they make the rules. Is that it?
No. They have a very specific set of setbacks as a unique community.
So what happens when you put all this extra lot coverage down?
I'm going to assume that the lot coverage has been passed by the building department, that it meets code.
Wow.
Can we? New ridge lines.
Really a lot of space. The setback, I realize on the side is like 5 feet from the next lot. Well, there's no way to know, right?
I'm sorry. Could you point out again what you're changing from what we approved the first go around? Because it's these pages are confusing me.
Yeah, I know it's very confusing. All right, so this side is what's been approved.
A2, okay.
And basically the only things that we're changing are this roof line. This is facing the back of the house. This is what it looks like now. It's basically we're taking the front gable and it's just extending back like 12 feet to give them an attic. So we're getting rid of this really low pitch roof line in the back. We're not changing any of the angles. We're just basically extending that front gable back.
You're extending the front gable back?
Well, there's the main front gable goes back all the way to almost 12 feet to the back wall. So, and then there's like this low pitched quirky roof. So instead of having that low pitched quirky roof in the back, we're just going to continue the main gable back that extra 12 feet. So that it doesn't change any roof lines or anything. You know, from what you see from the front, you don't see any difference.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sense of this for a second.
Yeah. So really, these are the two. These are the two changes. This is the existing front gable. The back of the front gable is basically getting rid of this low pitch and having this roof line.
So it's just that one line of the roof.
Right. So really, that roof, if you look at the second floor plan, that front gable, this is what it looked like upstairs. And basically, we just extended that gable 12 feet to give them an attic. And, you know.
Okay, so how does it, okay, so now if you extend that ridge, I see now, okay, so if you extend that up to the ridge line. Because right now there's a chimney, a fireplace chimney between those. Is that become incorporated?
There's no chimney anymore. That was actually for a boiler, but there's no boiler there.
So that chimney's now been removed because the boiler's been relocated, whatever, your systems have changed.
It's gone, yeah.
So you've taken, I mean, Nina's
Well,
explanation
that's the
here.
original,
So
right?
that's the original roof line. So you've pushed this one this way to become flush to here, is what I'm understanding.
So it's like simpler,
It's simpler, yeah. We got rid of this
but more
kink
massive.
and just
It gives them more,
brought it back.
it gives them more mass, but no
A
more,
little bit more mass.
no more floor coverage, I mean, ground coverage.
It doesn't touch the ground at all. We're not changing the footprint at all. It's just the roof.
Do you have a picture at the back of the house?
Some pictures.
Is that fine?
Here, we have.
Yeah,
you
because that,
submit
this
some-
is, this might, these are those, they're all kind of alike over there. They're standard floor plans in these houses.
So,
But right now it's under construction.
So it's no longer, yeah.
Is this single family?
It's a single family.
imagine that it's like, the other houses are right next door. It's been covered.
Really, this is what that looks
Yeah,
like.
no, yeah, I've been in about 10 of these
The
houses. so
addition
I'm not
actually built already, so this is exactly what the back of the house looks like.
Right.
My internet just did something weird.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose internet?
Because of the storm? Hey, tell us now.
I know, but it's not supposed to rain till 1 a.m., people. Okay.
I'm not in shock.
Okay, Nina, architect here. Help me.
Here, I'm
If I'm understanding this ridge, this coming this way,
Comes this way.
this disappears and goes up. This
Yeah.
becomes vaulted space under here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the interior of that space, but we're just
Storage,
pushing it to the
right?
back.
Storage.
Well, we're training the ceiling a little bit, and then there's gonna be an attic.
Okay. But what you're really getting rid is that unfortunate roof line.
Right.
And that's the side,
This is the back.
the back.
And this facade is still broken up, even though,
Yeah.
you know, getting rid of this, it's still not one big massive block or anything. It seems fine to me.
Yeah. Seems fine to me, actually. Because I've been in a lot of these little houses over there.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
I have friends that
know
own
that
them.
was
So
there.
wait, so this is the west.
This is, see this roof line?
Right.
This peak comes
Right, yeah.
this way,
Yeah,
flush to
that I
here,
got.
the chimney
Just my
disappears.
orientation is wrong, because
Yeah.
it curves around with these curves.
Yeah. All these little,
The original application.
it's because this is the ridge line that goes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't see any issues with it. From my standpoint, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Jane we don't have Jane. All
Oh,
right.
right. So now, we
So-
got three.
So we can vote. I'm going to move we approve the application.
Second.
Hang on, I haven't finished the motion yet.
Well,
I know it's going to rain. Don't get ahead of me.
public comment.
Okay. Do we
I
have
know.
public
Can't have
comment?
any. If
We
it was
can't.
here, we could.
Well, we're in person. This is an in-person meeting.
Okay.
There's no one
So I'm going to move we accept the application for 5 Carriage Lane from drawings dated. Let's take the drawings. Do you have a date on this one?
I've got notes. I've got pen and paper.
1/3/2024.
Dated 1/3/2020.
My birthday.
3/20/24. One.
Terrible birthday.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good luck.
No, we don't, because we have quorum.
It's
We have
okay.
3 of us.
We've got 4
quorum.
members.
We're on.
We have quorum. All right. So that brings us to 950 Meadow Lane.
Boy, am I slow
What's that
writing.
too? And that's
Never
like a porch and a driveway thing? Is that what you're doing? A deck?
Hang on, let me text.
It's John Bennett for the applicant, and The architects.
John, can you give me one
Melissa and I
second?
are here.
One second.
Excuse me?
I want to. Yeah, no, I want. But give me 1 second. I want to text the board member so she knows we've listened in case she's not panicked and thinks it's her fault.
I'm sorry.
Someone's going to stop the meeting. That's what I said.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Okay.
Well,
Oh, I'm back on.
you're back on?
Yeah.
Who needs the architects?
Coming back. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. It's connected.
You want to start?
Yes.
Oh, good, great. Hi, it's John Bennett, Stephen Harris Architects, and Reese Roberts. If they come in, that's great.
Jane's back.
But I think it's fairly simple. What you have in front of you is the approved second floor, which didn't have a deck, and really what we're talking about adding is a deck. And so this is the proposed amended second floor, which will add a deck over the first floor, and you can see it in elevation here as well. These have all been previously submitted. So essentially the idea is to take a portion of this flat roof section in the middle of the structure and do something which I was candidly quite surprised somebody hadn't done in the past anyway, which is to have a second floor deck on the ocean. And the nice thing about this is that it's in the center section of the property. So one of the things that we sometimes are concerned about, although not so much on oceanfront, because obviously a deck is part and parcel of it, is any effect on the neighboring parcels. Fortunately, it's sandwiched in between two gabled roof sections. So I did on Sunday, yesterday, on my way back to Boston, get an email from the owner to the east, who's represented by Alex Kriegsman, who just wanted to see what the application looked like. So what we did do is we sent Alex the full application, and we're happy to report that Mr. Kriegsman's client did. I'll hand these up because I just got these today. Did say that thanks for sharing the information, John. After reviewing this, I'm calling you to confirm that you have no objection to your application. Please feel free to share with the board. Specifically, what the board is concerned about on these decks is impact on the neighbors. And I would say that it's not surprising. And I have, if you want, I have some photographs taken by the contractor, which show the location of the deck, and you can see the flanking gabled roof sections of the building. I'm sorry, Alex.
That's okay.
Which obscure the neighbors there. And if I may, it's a little bit of commentary, but I'm not surprised that the neighbor wasn't too concerned about a deck, particularly this deck over the first floor section, because essentially the entire roof of the neighbor's house faces the deck.
Yeah.
But this is not unusual on the ocean.
Doesn't look great.
So again, what you have in front of you is, right here is the proposed floor plan, which shows a deck on that over that one story middle section of the house. It's shown in elevation right here on A200. And just for reference, you have the approved plan, the first floor plan, the approved one, which, not surprisingly, doesn't show the deck. So, and we've outlined the deck in yellow. So it's an observation deck and sort of gathering, and not surprisingly on the ocean. We didn't think it was that much. I actually, there was a little bit of discussion over whether or not it actually had to come back to you, but the better course is to bring it back to you. So,
Yeah. As
No, no,
many,
no, with the
as many
building- with the-
discussions we've had around here about
With
decks.
the building department.
Yeah.
Not interior.
No, but you know.
So that's that. If you have any questions.
Board members.
And then we have a gate that this is gonna talk about. But why don't we see if there's any concerns on the deck?
Yeah, let's tackle them separately. Board members, any comments on the deck application?
Is there a before and after elevation? Where I can see the deck?
Oh. I would just add that the elevation is not changed at all, other than the addition of that.
Sitting over here.
Oh, that yellow thing? Where you highlighted?
That's the
Oh.
railing.
The railing, oh.
Yeah, so there's absolutely no change.
But the structure underneath has already been
And
approved.
Stephen Harris
Yeah.
was the original architect and he's designed it. He's a great designer.
Yeah. No, no,
Actually,
no,
it's
no.
not one of the partners is on right now.
Oh, did they make it?
Okay, great.
Here.
Who needs the
You know, it's
Oh, here.
down on that.
Oh, definitely.
You got caught.
Because it was approved with a flat roof, now they're just taking the roof and adding it as a deck.
Yeah, I think it's, is it this one on top? Or is that?
I think he has it up on the screen.
Is this it, right here?
This is existing, and this is proposed.
There you go.
Introduce yourself.
It's just in a crevice.
Andrea, can you do that again?
Just introduce yourself also. Speaker,
I'm
introduce yourself.
Elliot Lee with Stephen Harris Architects.
Thank you.
Joined by Andrea, the project architect.
So the railing
So
is,
this is the before, the original proposal, and this is with the glass railing above the living room.
But you can't see.
that's
This
the
is
before?
very,
That's a,
that's the after.
that's the
Oh.
after, yeah.
And this is a pure elevation in perspective in real life. You'd see actually much less of it because we've set the glass rail back from the facade.
Okay, I just have a question. What's the roof, what's the floor height of the deck?
The floor height of the deck is elevation 36, I believe.
That's elevation. That's above sea level.
No,
Yeah, this
I
is,
want, no, what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, what's the comparison of the height of the height of the floor of the deck versus the ridge height of the building, the portion of the building that's to the east?
To the east? We showed you in photographs. You can see it.
I'm asking the architect a question, John, and I'm going to have an answer. So, no, don't, John. Okay.
Getting close to the.
Because what I wanted, I'm just trying to understand what the height difference is between those two things.
So the pitched roof height is 54, and we're at 36 here.
Okay.
And the building to the east.
And the building to the east.
Single story to the east is at, it's the same as the guest. So it's about 30, sorry, can you zoom in on? Sunset Terrace elevation is about 38.6.
Okay. And on the other end? The building to the east? Is that the east?
Actually, it's a little bit taller. This building, Andrew, this height?
So that elevation is 41.
Okay. And how does that, and what's the height difference between that ridge line and the base of the deck? 6, 7 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 5 feet.
Be sure. Your drawings are to scale, no?
Yes, but I'm showing you here. So this top of the ridge is at 41,
Okay.
and then this level is at 36.
Okay. So it's 5 feet. So if a 6-foot person was standing on the deck, they would have a sight line over that ridge to the neighboring property.
From the middle of the house.
I'm just understanding. I-
It's also set back.
Yeah, I mean, the
I'm
setback.
just
the
understanding.
dimension
Well, you
from
gave me
the ridge
you gave
to
me
the
a rendering
building
of a telescope up there. So I'm like, okay. What's that telescope looking at? That's my question. All right.
Towards the water.
Board members,
No objections.
you good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
But-
Jane?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay. So,
And is this the gate?
so hang on. Then now, well. Oh. Okay. Did you do the gate application as a separate? Wait a minute. Did you do the separate gate application? It's all in one, so it's all in one record. Okay. Right. Right.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't say. I didn't hear.
On the cover?
Yeah.
950 Meadow Lane.
Okay.
I don't think I have
To
it.
make it easier, I also.
Yeah.
Got a few extras?
I've got.
December 27th, I hand deliver it by cover of my letter. The second,
Mhm.
the date, details and color renders of the dates.
Okay, okay.
I'm doing it, so I'll walk you, so you should have these as well, but I can walk you through them.
Thank you.
And Matt, are you on?
Oh, I saw this one.
If you could show the first visual of the existing road, driveway?
There you go, Kat. You probably put it in your gate file. That's where I did. Okay. I put it because it was a gate drawing. I just put it in the gate file. Okay.
Okay, so this is, if you see on the screen, this is the
Yep.
existing conditions.
Yeah, we have
Next
this.
page. Matt, next page.
You probably can't hear you because you're not speaking into the
Thank
mic.
So this is the rendering, and if you can see, this is a, it's set 40 feet off of the road.
It's double the required setback.
Correct. And then you want to go to the next one, we'll go to the construction drawings, please. That's 40 feet with the existing vegetation. Continue.
And the callbacks is in one of the columns.
Call box is in the column, the height is 5 feet 8 inches. It is over 50% transparency. It is stainless steel clad in Atlantic cedar to be allowed to weather. Any questions?
I know the answer to this when we put it on the record anyway. Did you calculate the
We
transparency?
did, it's over 50%.
Great, thank you.
3 foot slat, 3 inch slats and 3 inch spacing.
Yep. And
That's 50%.
it's actually 52 because they didn't count the opening for the bottom of the gate to the road. Yeah, because I read the math on it today. I was like, never mind. I just wanted it on the record. Board members.
No objection.
Yep, I'm good.
Jane?
It's an amazing
Okay. So,
project.
motion to accept the application for 950 Meadow Lane from drawings dated or submitted December 27th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Long wait, huh?
All right, so that moves us on to driveway gates. Historic, we have a carryover matter, 44 Lewis LLC at 44 Lewis Street for a driveway gate. Do I have to stop this car? Okay, good night and thank you. Is Lewis coming in?
Hello, yes, how you doing?
Hello. Can you introduce yourself for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Chris Millman. I'm a landscape designer for Landscape Details, representing 44 Lewis Street, and presenting entry gates to 11th Street.
Okay.
So, I presented you, I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you.
We are looking to, we are proposing a 4-foot tall entry gate.
Hang on, we can't see your screen yet.
Yeah. Okay, share screen, sorry. Yep. You see it yet?
No.
Okay.
We're hoping.
Well, we're excited about it. We know it's coming. There we go. Now we see.
Okay, so, we are proposing a set of entry gates 18 feet off the street. We are also, we gave you 2 options for that. The last one was rejected by the board. So we went down the block, took the board's recommendations of going down the street, looking at some of the neighboring houses and what they had. Obviously, well, from my perspective and the client's perspective, they weren't looking to do something that's already been done on the street, but yet keep it in the same vein as what the board suggested. So we came up with a picket that had a frame around it. We also came up with a picket through design that's in keeping with one of the other houses on the block, but a little bit better quality, I guess, fence than what the neighbor had. It's going to be free in, free out, no control panel. The car will have a clicker in it, and there'll be a pedestrian button on the post. We plan on hedging it, setting it back. We also plan on putting a deer grate in the ground, just to, it's got little kids. So we wanted to do.
Okay, just for the record, we're going to reject the deer grate, but let's talk about the gates. We don't find them architecturally appropriate for that neighborhood, and they're not harmonious with that neighborhood. They're not part of that neighborhood.
That's fine. Okay, so we'll do it out the deer grate.
Talk to me about your 3-inch thick Versatex covered stainless steel internal frame. So that's white.
It's going to be white.
And is it matte or shiny?
It is matte.
Okay.
We need the support, so hence the.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question before we play Let's Make a Deal here. From the client perspective, which is their preference?
They like this option 1, the most.
Okay.
But option 2 out of 4 others that I gave them,
Okay.
he liked this one, the second. So
okay.
He didn't like the first one.
And there are no light fixtures. There's no lighting. I don't see. But you have no plans for lighting or light fixtures anywhere. Do you have any plans to mount a house number on these gates?
No.
Okay. Board members.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well.
Into the microphone.
I'll make the simpler gate.
Yeah.
I like that one.
You like the one? You like the cross members?
Well, I like the
Well,
more
all right.
primitive.
So I'll make a comment.
Go ahead.
All right, and I'll preface it by saying that I don't think gates on this street are
appropriate
at all.
Right.
Okay, so if I had my druthers and if Alice wasn't shaking her head, I would deny the gates. I would ask the client.
That is not a choice.
Why
that's
they
not a
want
choice,
it, but that's
unfortunately, we get to
something.
make with village code.
Okay.
So
that
said,
I would choose the simplest of them all, which is the one that doesn't have the cross members. And is Versatex akin to wood?
No. Of course.
Is it? Will it look like wood?
Yeah. Yes, you wouldn't know the difference if you walked up to it and grabbed it.
Well, you might if you grabbed it.
It has plenty of weight to it, and
Yeah.
it's going to be painted solid material. So.
Right. And then the deer grates. If this was a farm on hundreds of acres, maybe, and you had live cattle, then maybe that would be the case, but not on a village street.
And they're not harmonious to that street, and they don't exist anywhere else on that street, and they're just not.
I would much rather just do the.
Great. Here's where I come from. We spent a lot of time on this house because it's one of the oldest houses in Southampton, and I think they've done a really beautiful job with this house. So whatever option is the most amenable to not take away from the excellent work that's been done in that house would be my preference. I would go for the one without the cross members because it just becomes more transparent, which we like. Jane, do you have an opinion?
I'm leaning towards option 2 only because it seems to go along architecturally with the house better.
Okay.
But it may be more see-through with the first one, but it's hard to tell from the rendering.
Well, I tell you what, if the cross members are bothering you, that was, they're not structural. So there was one on the block that had the cross members on it.
Yeah,
So,
no
Didn't
point.
need it.
No point, it's just decoration.
yeah,
So they're not structural, they're just there for decoration?
correct.
Okay. Well, in the world of form follows function, I think we're going for number 1 here. So I'm going to move that we accept public. Is there public comment?
Also, this is historic, so I need to write.
Oh, I'm going to move that we. Oh, so you need comment on it.
Well, I need to write a decision on it.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Written
Okay.
application.
So I'm going to move that we move to written decision to approve the application for gate detailed as page L500.
Option 1.
Well, we're going to say, are they both
Yeah,
L500? No, that's 502.
And
Page
it is,
L500.
And it does say option 1.
Option 1. Okay.
Oh, option 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Not what I wrote.
please go with the L500. It sounds so
You
much
want a
nicer.
copy?
Okay.
No, I'll take the file. It's not what I put in my notes.
Okay, for 44 Lewis Street, is there a second? With the stipulation that they provide drawings that shows that the cattle gate has not been approved and removed from a set of approved drawings. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go.
Thank you very much. You'll have that in your office. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to. Hang on. We have one more case, I believe. Yes, 143 Meadowmere Lane for a driveway gate. It's this one. It's the one last time that was a little tiny drawing. It's come back as a big drawing. Face us, please. Okay.
So Louis Folo for Glenn and Rochelle McGrath.
Okay.
Printed out these 3Ds. I don't know if it's helpful or not.
Everything is helpful. If you can just put it there and aim it towards us.
So it's a simple driveway gate. It's 20 feet from the street. It's about 4 feet high. It's a little bit shy of 4 feet. It's made of mahogany that has been painted white.
Can I ask a question? Why are you painting the mahogany white? Because like your inspiration gate that you gave us is this beautiful dark gate.
Yeah, he wanted it painted white.
Yeah. And weather gray.
I'm sorry?
It may weather gray.
Keep painting it.
Well, he wants to paint it, but let's. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry, I interrupted
Yeah,
you.
basically that's kind of it. So there's no lights. There's a keypad on the pillar, and that's pretty much it.
And for the record, can you state the transparency?
That's 40%.
Okay. Board.
Is it eco wood?
There is the inspiration.
I'm sorry?
Is the mahogany a sustainable source?
It is.
We can?
I'm going to. The lead certified. My comment would be, I think white is jarring in that contemporary design, and I think popping off the house, the original inspiration, leaving it natural mahogany, is a much better choice. I think white's a little jarring. Board members? Especially if they're going to all the trouble to use mahogany. Let it be mahogany. Let it be honest. Board members?
It doesn't matter to me what it's light or mahogany, how's that?
Okay. Joyce? Sorry, Jane?
I would agree with you, Mark. Let it be honest. Mahogany seems to be the better choice.
Okay, thank you.
I agree, but I don't have any objection as long as the mahogany is sustainably sourced.
Jeff?
If the owner wants it white.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with Nina on that because the house is a light gray with white accents. So white could work. It's a shame to paint over mahogany sometimes, but it's not a deal killer for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the majority has it?
Yes.
Okay, sounds like it. Okay, so I'm going to move, we approve.
No.
What? No, actually, I'm gonna move that we approve the application for the gate at,
Mahogany or white?
what's the address?
143
At
Meadowmere.
143 Meadowmere as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Became not the hill to die on. Okay. Is that the last agenda item? I believe it is. No, now we have. Okay, the last thing that we have to talk about tonight.
No worries.
The last thing we
Have a
have
good
to
night.
talk about tonight is the modernism report. Alex, would you like to set us up? And Alice, anything you'd like to add to the discussion about the modernism report?
Sure. I can give a little bit of a background and overview if that's helpful.
That'd be
Board
great.
members. Sure. So last year, I believe at the I think it was the August 28th meeting, according to my notes, the board approved a scope of work for a proposed study that you had commissioned on modernist architecture in the village.
That's correct.
This was a type of architecture that previously hasn't been studied in great depth before. A lot of our historic inventory has focused on 19th century and very early 20th century architecture. I think the board recognized that this is an important period of architecture, especially in the east end of Long Island and Southampton Village that previously had not been studied, and that we were becoming increasingly rare as examples were being lost. So we found an architectural historian that was very well qualified to study this issue in Kate Rego, who is a architect and a architectural historian and a historic preservationist, a contemporary of mine at Columbia University who teaches there as well. And we asked her to delve into her archives that she has access to and coordinate with the building department to find really exemplary examples of modernist architecture in the village of Southampton. And Kate, I think, did a really wonderful job. She worked very closely with our clerks in the building department to go through our archives. She went through the archives at Columbia University and found really great images and floor plans, and identified 5 buildings in the village of Southampton, even though this wasn't a totally comprehensive study, that she felt were great examples of modernist architecture.
I believe,
rose
didn't
to
they
the
look
level-
at 15 buildings and narrow it down to 5 that they're recommending? Was that the scope?
Yeah, I believe it was about 10 or 15 buildings that she had looked. We had kind of a long list based on some initial research that she had done, and then we've kind of fine-tuned that research even further, looking at existing conditions and further information. And she felt that the 5 that she included in her final report were really some of the best examples. As you know, we recently updated the codes that there are 6 criteria for local landmarks, and this board, as we're a certified local government, has the power to designate local village landmarks. One of the criteria for newer buildings is that they have to be, I think, extraordinary examples. And so Kate really looked through that lens and found what she thought were really extraordinary examples that were done by, in some cases, very notable architects, or that were very important to the modernist movement, or really said something about that period of history in Southampton's history. So I was happy to share that final report with the board. There's 5 houses included, and she's got some great images there as well. I'm happy to put some on the screen, and I could go through the houses in that report if the board would like.
No, I think we'll be going through it more in depth. As I understand it, we've all seen it and received it and reviewed it. The next steps are to we'll talk about what 5 houses have been recommended, and that from the village code standpoint, the criteria is exemplifies or possesses special character or historic or aesthetic interest of value as part of the political, economic, or social history of Southampton. Or 2 is identified with persons or events of significant local, state, and natural history. Embodies the distinguishing characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction or design style, or is a valuable example of the use of indigenous materials or craftsmanship, or is representative of the work of a design, architect, or building. 4 criteria represents an established and familiar visual feature of the community. 5 has yielded or may be likely to yield information imported in prehistory. And number 6 is the work of an architect of significance. The 4 properties that we're looking at that were recommended for landmarking are the Sugarman House at 1360 Meadow Lane, the Bliss House at 88 Meadow Lane, the Coniston House at 1820 Meadow Lane, the Cohen House at 380 Barons Lane, and the Rosin House at 1880 Meadow Lane. In their significant report, which is about 30 pages, will be posted to the village tomorrow. Or once we've adopted, it'll be posted. And the next step in this, correct me, Alice, is that a hearing is then posted to have a public discussion about the merits for landmarking these properties by the ARB.
Correct.
These are all modern houses by designation, made by seminal architects and represent completely and specific and noteworthy pieces of architecture. I think it'd behoove people to look through the document in a study and studies the pictures and the background and the extensive history in this document to understand why these have been recommended for landmarking. So what I would ask and what I would move is that the board adopt the modernism study tonight. And the next step, I'm going to move that we adopt it, and the next step then it would be scheduled for public hearing in 2 weeks, I believe.
No,
Or we have to notice.
We would notice for landmarking on March 11th.
Okay, and then the public hearing would be March 11th?
March 11th.
Okay, so I'm going to move we accept the Southampton modernist recommendation from Kate. Regev, thank you, AIA, dated January 9th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think we've lost. I think we lost Jane again. Yeah, we lost her. Okay. All right. What I love about this is, and because I had to walk the beach and look at all the houses, each one is unique, and they represent sort of the best of what we can do as a board is to help protect our history. And sometimes it's our nearer history that has more impact on the future way the Southampton Village will look. So thank everybody. We're good.
So is there a motion for the board to schedule that hearing for March 11th? And do we need to do separate motions for each building or one motion for all?
We can do one motion to schedule each one, but I would just ask that you name each property and address.
In the motion.
Yes.
Okay. So I move that we schedule for public hearing landmark on March the 11th?
March 11th.
On March 11th. For landmark consideration, the following houses: Sugarman House at 1380 Meadow Lane.
1360 Meadow
I'm sorry,
Lane.
1360 Meadow Lane. Bliss House at 88 Meadow Lane. Coniston House at 1820 Meadow Lane. The Cohen House at 380 Barons Lane. And Roslyn House at 1880 Meadow Lane. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is that what you need for now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll make
With
the
that-
necessary steps for a public hearing.
With that, I move we close the February 12th meeting of the Southampton Village Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.